On the campus playground, the afternoon sun is like a torch, piercing people's eyes. Jiang Chen leaned lazily under the basketball hoop, and threw up the stuffed teddy bear with his right hand. The bear's ears drew an arc in the air, and then fell back into his palm. The teddy bear's eyes shone with the sheen of cheap plastic, and he still had the faint smell of rubber from the pet store. All around, senior high school students were burying themselves behind their desks like robots, scratching the test papers with their pen tips, and the air was filled with the sour smell of sweat and ink. When the bell rang, no one looked up. The countdown to the college entrance examination was 30 days away, and all they could see were the wrong question papers with red circles in their eyes. "Hey, Jiang Chen. What are you doing again? Are you throwing bears for fun? Have you not graduated from kindergarten?" A sharp voice came from the side of the playground. It was the class monitor Li Hao, pushing up his thick glasses, his face full of disdain. Several nerdy-looking guys around him snickered, their voices buzzing like flies. "Rebellious youth. Ha, just an ignorant waste. College dream. Go begging on the streets." Jiang Chen didn't even raise his eyelids. He caught the teddy bear with his left hand and threw a high throw with his right hand. The bear rolled in the blue sky, and the sun shone on its belly, reflecting the mottled dust. He grinned, showing his white teeth. "University. Is that thing edible? I'm not like you bookworms, sitting in the classroom and getting moldy." His voice was lazy but thorny, and several street gangsters around him, his brothers, immediately agreed, and their fists hit the barbed wire with a thud. "Yes. Brother Hao, are you stupid from studying? Brother Jiang is the one who lives a cool life." Li Hao's face flushed red, and he clenched the test paper with his fists, and the paper made a crisp sound like tearing. His eyes widened and his voice trembled. You will regret it sooner or later. Go out and pick up trash after graduation." The girls passing by whispered to each other, some covered their mouths and snickered, while others frowned and shook their heads. The wind beside the playground carried the green smell of the lawn, mixed with the fumes from the canteen in the distance, but Jiang Chen only felt bored. The teddy bear fell back into his hand again, the soft touch seeming to mock his emptiness. Suddenly, a big hand patted his shoulder, as hard as an iron pincer. Qin Feng's hot-blooded face came closer, and beads of sweat slid down his forehead, dripping on Jiang Chen's shoes. "Brother Chen. Stop fucking playing. The club is recruiting new members, the Adventure Club. Let's go exploring in the countryside, forests, and abandoned factories. It's so exciting. The college entrance examination is nothing, life has to be hot." Qin Feng's eyes were as bright as a wolf, his chest heaved, and the dust on the playground was kicked up by him. He's the kind of guy who's always full of electricity, with a mountaineering graphic on his t-shirt and an old backpack dragging behind his back that smells like musty canvas. Jiang Chen rolled his eyes and stuffed the teddy bear into his pocket. "Adventure. I explore the streets every day, it's exciting enough. Club. A bunch of pretenders." Qin Feng didn't give up and shook his arm. "Didn't you love backpacking adventures when you were a kid? Do you still remember the map? Come on, buddy." His voice was so loud that everyone around him looked over, and Li Hao sneered. "Qin Feng, you have also fallen. If you hang out with this kind of people, you will be ruined sooner or later." While they were commotion, a crisp sound of footsteps came from the school gate. Qiao Zhixia skipped into the playground carrying a small pink bag, holding a paper bag in her hand, with the sound of plastic packaging coming from inside. She is a part-time girl in a pet shop, with a ponytail swung like a whip and a sunny smile on her face. "Brother Jiang Chen. New goods have arrived. This teddy bear is super cute and it lights up." She stuffed the bag into Jiang Chen's arms, her eyes curled into crescents, and the smell of her mints floated in the air. Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment, then opened the bag. The new bear was fatter than the old one, with LED lights flashing in its eyes. He couldn't help but throw it up. The bear rolled in the air, and the light drew a meteor trail. The surrounding gangsters widened their eyes. Damn, this is awesome. Qin Feng whistled, Sister Zhixia, your toy, is an artifact. Qiao Zhixia chuckled, leaned close to Jiang Chen, and whispered, Brother, you haven't lost your old adventure backpack yet? When you were a kid, you always carried it on your back and took me to the park for adventures. It was so fun. Let's sort it out and do it again. Jiang Chen's heart tightened. That backpack, childhood memories came up like dust, the earthy smell of the park, the rustling of leaves. But he immediately shook his head and said disdainfully, Childhood? I'm an adult now. Get out of here for that childish thing. Qiao Zhixia pouted, Qin Feng sighed, and Li Hao snorted from a distance, look at what a waste is. The school bell rang and Jiang Chen dragged his feet home. My home is an old apartment, and the corridor is filled with fumes and musty smells from neighbors cooking. He kicked the door open, and the room was as messy as a garbage dump. Textbooks were piled in the corner, covered in dust. In boredom, he rummaged through boxes and cabinets, and old clothes and broken sneakers flew everywhere. Suddenly, my hand touched a hard object, a dusty adventure backpack. The canvas was yellowed and the zipper was stuck. He pulled hard and a mixed smell of aged leather and earth hit his face. In the backpack, the map from my childhood was curled up with brittle edges, and Treasure X and Monster Cave were filled with crayons on it. Jiang Chen's fingers stroked those crooked lines, and his heart accelerated inexplicably. Outside the window, the setting sun dyed the outline of the abandoned factory on the edge of the city red, and the dark shadow of the suburban forest loomed in the distance. When he was a child, he imagined that there was adventure hidden there, but now, it's just the shackles of the college entrance examination. He murmured, Fuck, what is this? Boom. There was a sudden knock on the door. The door opened, and Tang Yue stood there, with long hair shawl, as gentle as the spring breeze. She held a canvas and a box of paints in her hands. The paint box exuded the pungent aroma of oil paints, blue and red, and they were so bright. Chen. I heard Qin Feng said that you are in a bad mood. Come on, paint and relieve the pressure. Her voice was soft, like cotton candy, her eyes were starry, and her eyelashes were trembling slightly. Jiang Chen had a lump in his throat, and his rebellious heart instantly softened. He stepped aside, Tang Yue came in, spread out the canvas, and the smell of paint became strong in the air. She squeezed out blue and handed him a brush. Try it, mixing paint is super healing. Those monsters you painted when you were a kid, you are so talented. Her fingers accidentally touched his, and they were as warm as electricity. Jiang Chen's face heated up, and he threw the teddy bear pretending to be fine, and the bear rolled to the edge of the canvas. Tang Yue bent down and picked up the bear, her eyes full of endearment. You are still the same. However, the campus art exhibition is next week, and everyone is getting ready. Qin Feng said that you have dug out your backpack, and the paintings are adventure-themed. Are you participating? Maybe, if you win, you can get rid of those ridicules. She said, staring straight at him, her pink cheeks were slightly red, and the light in the room shone on the side of her face, outlining a soft arc. Jiang Chen's heartbeat was beating like a drum, and the brush in his hand was hanging in the air. Art exhibition. How would those nerds stare? Li Hao's mocking voice seemed to be buzzing in his ears again. But Tang Yue's tenderness was like a fire, burning his rebellious shell and cracking it. Outside the window, the night engulfed the abandoned factory, and the X mark on the map seemed to be calling. He held the brush tightly and whispered, participating, why should I? Tang Yue came closer, breathing like orchid, it's just you, it's Jiang Chen. Her words were like hooks, piercing deeply into his heart. At this moment, Qin Feng's shout came from outside the door, Brother Chen. The club is gathering. Let's visit the abandoned factory tonight. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. Jiang Chen was still holding the brush, and the paint dripped off the bristles. The blue liquid hit the edge of the canvas like teardrops, spreading into a blur. He glanced at Tang Yue. Her eyelashes were trembling, her pink lips were slightly parted, and the starlight in her eyes had not faded. She was staring at him, as if waiting for an answer. The rebellious thorn was still stuck in his throat, but he suddenly felt that the heat welling up from the bottom of his heart was more pungent than the smell of cigarette smoke on the street. Okay, I'll paint a picture. Art exhibition. Let those bookworms see what chaotic streets are. He shook off the excess paint on the brush, and the brush whizzed in the air and landed on the canvas with a slap. The first stroke was crooked, like the chaos in his heart. Tang Yue's eyes lit up, and she clapped her hands gently, feeling a subtle touch of sticky paint on her palms. Great! Let's start from the streets, what you are most familiar with. She came closer and her shoulder accidentally touched his arm. The warm body temperature rushed through her like an electric current. The tip of Jiang Chen's nose smelled the faint jasmine fragrance in her hair, the pungent smell of oil paint mixed with paint, and his heart skipped a beat. He grabbed the red paint, roughly squeezed out a lump, and stabbed it with the brush. The canvas was instantly covered with blood, like blood stains after a street fight. Then blue, yellow, he stirred randomly, the paint made a wet squeaking sound on the tray, his fingers were covered with dirty mixed colors, and the picture turned into a mess, twisted street lamps, broken glass, blurred figures, like the streets he wandered every day, so ugly that he wanted to vomit. Fuck, what the hell is this? I'm really not suitable for this stuff. Jiang Chen threw down the brush, took a step back, and hit the table with his fist. The wooden table made a muffled sound, shaking the paint box. Tang Yue didn't laugh. She squatted down and looked at it carefully. She touched the edge of the canvas with her slender fingers. Her blue eyes gradually widened and her voice trembled slightly. Chen, this is not graffiti, this is your heart. Look at the red and blue intertwined, like the neon lights on the street. Struggling in the rain is so tense. Make it darker and add some layers, your talent is off the charts. Her cheeks flushed, her breathing quickened, and her eyes shone with admiration, causing Jiang Chen's rebellious shell to crack open. Deep inside, the emptiness seemed to be diluted by paint, and something was faintly surging. The door was pushed open with a bang, and Qin Feng barged in, sweating profusely, his t-shirt soaked and sticking to his chest, exuding the salty smell of sweat and earth. He was followed by Qiao Zhixia. The little girl was panting and left her pink bag behind her. She also held a bag of new pet toys in her hand, the plastic packaging rustling. Brother Chen. Why are you lingering? The club meeting is cancelled, but I will definitely go to the abandoned factory on the weekend. Zhixia is also here, and she said she would bring a teddy bear as a talisman. Qin Feng glanced at the canvas, froze, and opened his mouth in an O shape. What the hell, Brother Chen, did you draw this? This street, so damn real. Much better than those art students. Qiao Zhixia came up and exclaimed, her ponytail waving with the sweet smell of mint. Wow, Brother Jiang Chen, this red looks like your fist is hitting the wall. Come on, let's pack the backpack. Qin Feng's shouts exploded into the night like firecrackers, and footsteps thumped outside the door, mixed with his heavy breathing. Brother Chen. Come on, the club members are waiting. The door of the abandoned factory will open tonight. If you miss it, you'll be out of luck. He hit the door panel twice more with his fist. The wooden door shook and dust fell, and the air in the room was instantly muddied by the passionate agitation. Before Jiang Chen could recover, the three of them were already rushing towards the dusty backpack. Qin Feng opened the zipper, and the childhood map inside fluttered down, and the faint fruity scent of crayons wafted out. He picked up the map, his eyes widened, Treasure Qiao Zhixia giggled and squeezed the new luminous teddy bear into her side pocket. The bear's eyes twinkled. Amulet. Take the old bear with you, and you will be twice as lucky. She poked Jiang Chen's arm with her finger, her eyes playful, and her pink cheeks were so close that it made him feel itchy. While the commotion was in full swing, there was another knock on the door, this time much softer. A thin figure pushed open the door and walked in. Han Xiao, an optimistic young man from the campus art club, had light blonde hair and a t-shirt printed with abstract graffiti. He was holding an easel in his hand. There was a sharp smell of turpentine in the air. He was the rescue brought by Qin Feng. He glanced at the canvas and froze instantly. His eyes behind the lenses widened to their maximum size. This, Jiang Chen. Did you paint it? There are free souls hidden in the chaos on the streets. Man, I have been mixing paint for 5 years and I am not as strong as your first stroke. Han Xiao knelt down in front of the canvas and stroked the edge of the paint with trembling fingers. Fate, his voice was trembling with excitement. Rebellion is not a bad thing, it is fuel. Use art to burn it and transform. I will help you promote the art exhibition, and those bookworms will kneel down and beg you for your autograph. Qin Feng and Qiao Zhixia gasped in unison. Tang Yue lightly punched Jiang Chen's shoulder with her pink fist, sparks crackling in her eyes. Look, I'm going to say you are a genius. Tang Yue was not idle. She quietly picked out dark green and golden yellow from the paint box, mixed it into a strange twilight, and handed it to Jiang Chen. Fill up the background. Finish this painting before the weekend adventure. The art exhibition will definitely explode. Her fingers flicked on the palette, and the paint pulled out threads. Their eyes met. Her eyelashes were lowered, and her breath was blue. Under the light of the room, the ambiguity spread out like paint. Jiang Chen took the brush, her warmth still lingering in the palm of his hand. When the brush fell, the streets on the canvas suddenly came alive, neon flashed and ruins glowed. Tang Yue took a breath and her voice trembled. Chen, how did you paint such light and shadow? It's so amazing, my hands are shaking. In the blink of an eye, on the weekend, the scorching sun scorched the earth, and the abandoned factories on the edge of the suburban forest looked like the carcasses of giant beasts. The smell of rust and the musty smell of rotting would hit our faces. Jiang Chen and his party of 5, he, Qin Feng, Qiao Zhixia, Tang Yue, and Han Xiao, carried bulging backpacks and tiptoed over the rusty iron fence, gravel crunching under their feet and their heartbeats beating like drums. Qin Feng took the lead, the compass turning in the palm of his hand, and beads of sweat dripping on the soil. Brother Chen, the map from childhood is accurate. Go straight to the monster cave. Qiao Zhixia held on to the teddy bear tightly. The LED light of the new bear flickered faintly in the shadow. She whispered screaming, Brother, hold me tight, I'm afraid of the dark. Tang Yue pressed against Jiang Chen's back, his soft body making his head buzz, while Han Xiao whispered about her paint experience. The rust here, with the orange, red and gray tones, perfectly matches your street paintings. Jiang Chen had a lump in his throat, and his rebellious sting was softened by these widened eyes and trembling voices. He grabbed his backpack and threw it over his shoulders. The rough feeling of the canvas rubbing against his shoulders made his blood boil. Weekend, abandoned factory. Whoever doesn't go will have a grandson. His friends cheered. Qin Feng punched him in the chest. Qiao Zhixia hugged the teddy bear and screamed. Tang Yue secretly squeezed his palm, and Han Xiao excitedly gestured with graffiti wall ideas. It was late at night, and the room was in a mess. The smells of paint, sweat, and rubber were intertwined. The city lights outside the window were like stars, and the dark shadows of abandoned factories flickered in my mind. Jiang Chen's heart was beating wildly, and the rebellious emptiness was filled by this wall. He grabbed the 2 bears and threw them up high. The old bear and the new bear rolled in the air, and the LED lights made a meteor shower, and then they fell back into the palm of his hand. All the friends around him held their breath, and Qin Feng murmured, Brother Chen, your throwing technique is amazing. Han Xiao trembled, artistic inspiration exploded. Tang Yue blushed to the roots of her ears, her eyes were glued to him, and ambiguous flames shot up. In the midst of this electric light and flint, heavy footsteps came from the distance, like a hammer hitting the ground, mixed with rude laughter and curses. Fuck, this graffiti wall is still there? I smashed it. Art? Bullshit, it's better to destroy it. Jiang Chen turned his head sharply, and 5 or 6 strong men emerged from the shadows. The leader was the school bully Tiger, with a face full of flesh, carrying an iron stick on his shoulders, and the rusty stick body reflected the glare of the sun. They are gangsters from the nearby high school who specialize in destroying these trash. Li Hao's gang of nerds will occasionally bribe them to trample on people. Wang Hu caught a glimpse of Jiang Chen and his entourage, and grinned ferociously. Hey, Jiang Chen. Bringing a girl on a date? I'm going to smash this wall today. Get out of here, or I'll crush you all too. Qin Feng clenched his fists, his face turned livid. Qiao Zhixia hugged her in fear, clinging to Jiang Chen. Tang Yue grabbed the hem of his clothes with trembling fingers. Han Xiao whispered, Brother Chen, there are many of them. The footsteps approached, the iron rods clanged on the ground, and there was a stench of tobacco and alcohol in the air, and the smell of gunpowder from the conflict was instantly strong. They got into the main hall of the factory, filled with dust like fog, and the sunlight slanted through the broken window, illuminating a hidden graffiti wall in the corner. The walls are colorful, with abstract beasts, free birds, and twisted cities. The layers of paint are layered, beating like living veins. Han Xiao was the first to pounce, eyes wide open. Oh my god, this is the legacy of a street artist from the last century. Brother Chen, your painting style is in the same vein. Qin Feng whistled, and his voice echoed in the empty factory. Awesome. Take a photo and send it to the club. Tang Yue turned to look at Jiang Chen, his eyes watery. This is the same as your painting, destined. Qiao Zhixia jumped up with excitement. Celebrate. Throw the bear. Wang Hu's iron rod hit the ground hard, and the clang echoed in the abandoned factory building. The gravel flew down like raindrops, dust flew up, and the fishy smell of rust mixed with the iron rod went straight into the nose. 5 or 6 strong men followed him, with broad shoulders and strong bodies. The tattoos on their arms were twisted like snakes. Their footsteps shattered the glass, and the cracking sound sounded like broken bones. They approached with hideous smiles, the muffled sound of sticks hitting their palms became more and more urgent, and the stench of tobacco and alcohol in the air was too strong to be eliminated. Jiang Chen, you fucking think you can protect the wall with a few pretty girls? I'm done with it. The money that boy Li Hao gave is well spent. Wang Hu spat, yellow stains splashed on the graffiti wall, and the free bird's paint on the wall seemed to be trembling. Qin Feng's face turned pale, his fists clenched loudly, beads of sweat slid down his forehead, dripping on the compass, and the needle tip was spinning wildly. Brother Chen, there are many people, and the sticks are hard. Qiao Zhixia's face was pale, and she hugged the bears tightly. The LED lights flickered in the shadows, her teeth chattered, and her voice was as thin as a mosquito's chirping. Brother. I'm afraid. Tang Yue's fingers tightly grasped the corner of Jiang Chen's clothes, and her nails were embedded in the fabric, which was warm. The palms of his hands were wet, and tears shone in his eyes. Chen, don't be impulsive, let's go. Han Zhao's eyes behind the lenses widened to the limit, and he hugged the easel tightly, and his legs were so weak that he almost knelt down. This wall can't be destroyed, Brother Chen, please. The companions breathed quickly and stepped back. The shadow of the factory stretched their bodies, like prey driven to a desperate situation by a giant beast, and a chill of despair crawled down their spines. The rebellious fire in Jiang Chen's heart exploded. The teddy bear was squeezed and deformed in the palm of his hand, and the elasticity of the rubber squeaked. He growled lowly, his eyes as red as a beast on a graffiti wall. Want to smash it? Ask me if I have a bear in my hand. He swung his backpack, the canvas hit the ground with a muffled sound, the zipper popped open automatically, and the climbing rope inside jumped out like a living snake. Qin Feng's eyes lit up, he understood instantly, and his throat rolled. Brother Chen, this is amazing. The two of them had a tacit understanding like lightning. Jiang Chen grabbed one end of the rope, and the rough hemp rope frayed into his palms, and the blood oozed out with a salty taste. He dodged towards the pillar of the factory building, and the rope loop flew out and whizzed, catching the rusty iron beam and pulling it in place. Qin Feng ran wildly at the other end, the rope stretched like a bowstring, lying across the center of the passage, hidden in the gray mist. Wang Hu laughed, and raised the iron rod high to hit the graffiti wall. Seeing that the bird of freedom was about to break into pieces, the wind roared from the stick and kicked up the dust. Come on! Defeat them! The strong men rushed over with a roar, their footsteps thundering. The first bald man strode across the rope, snap. The rope bounced like a whip, tripping his knees, and his huge body crashed to the ground. His cheeks were bruised and bloody, and he screamed like a pig, "Ah, my legs!" The second and third men stumbled one after another, and the sticks flew out of their hands, smashing the window glass with a clanking sound, and the fragments rained down. Wang Hu stared, the stick froze in the air. Fuck, what the hell? His steps were messed up. Qin Feng rushed out, kicked the rope bounced higher. Wang Hu threw himself on the street, the iron stick bounced and hit his shoulder, the bone cracked loudly, he rolled to the ground with a roar, his face was covered with dust and twisted. You. Een lousy. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, his backpack slipped off his shoulders, and he held the teddy bear tightly in his hand. The flame of rebellion ignited in the widened eyes of my friends. Qiao Zhixia's eyes lit up, and she screamed, grabbing the two bears and throwing them high, scatter them. Bear, come on. The old bear and the new bear rolled in the air, the LED lights drew a dazzling meteor trajectory, and hit the two strong men on the head. The rubber bounced loudly. They ouched and backed away, holding their heads and retreating. The teddy bear bounced on the ground and jumped up. The LED flashed like a will-o'-the-wisp, and the factory instantly turned into a mess. The strong men swung their sticks and smashed them, but the sticks whizzed but only hit the air. The teddy bears bounced around, and giggles seemed to come from the plastic. The men who smoked and drank had green faces. What kind of monster? I can't catch it. Run! Jiang Chen yelled, grabbed his backpack and threw it over his shoulder, and his friends rushed out like arrows. Behind the Qin Feng palace, the rope was recovered like a whip whipping a pursuer's hind legs. There was a loud snap, and the guy screamed and fell into the paint mist. During the chase, the footsteps were pounding and gravel was flying, and the iron rod whizzed by and scratched Jiang Chen's arm. The blood oozing out was painful. Qiao Zhixia screamed and hugged his waist tightly. Tang Yue pressed her back and pushed him forward. The soft touch made his heart beat wildly. Han Shao gasped, "Brother Chen, your tacit understanding is too strong." The image of the team flashed in Jiang Chen's mind, and the rebellious Chener flexed for the first time, not being carried alone, this feeling, fucking hot blood. They climbed over the iron fence and escaped from the factory, facing the green shade of the suburban forest, and the fresh smell of pine needles washed away the stench of rust. Wang Hu's roar echoed behind him, "Jiang Chen. See you at the art exhibition, I'll smash your paintings." But the steps gradually moved away, and the five of them threw themselves into the bushes. The branches and leaves stung their faces, and they sat down on the muddy ground panting, their heartbeats beating like drums. Qin Feng was the first to burst into laughter. His fist hit the ground and the soil flew into the air. "Brother Chen. The rope trap is awesome. Those idiots fell like dogs chewing shit." His eyes widened, his chest heaved violently, and the light of worship shot towards Jiang Chen. Qiao Zhixia rushed forward, stuffed the two bears into Jiang Chen's arms, her little face flushed. "Brother is the most handsome. Bear, help me." Her ponytail swung, the sweet smell of mints filled her nostrils, she hugged his arm tightly and rubbed it. Tang Yue knelt down beside Jiang Chen and tore open her sleeves with trembling hands. She saw abrasions on her arms, bloodshot eyes and tears. She took out gauze from her backpack, touched the wound with her warm fingertips, and bandaged it gently. The scent of jasmine mixed with blood hit her nostrils. Jiang Chen's face was as hot as fire, his heartbeat was skipping a beat, and his eyes were glued to her drooping eyelashes. It's okay." She raised her eyes, her watery eyes met, and her pink lips were slightly opened. "Idiot, does it hurt?" "For the wall, for us." Her fingers inadvertently crossed his chest, electricity rushed through his throat, and ambiguous flames burned to the base of his ears. Han Xiao came closer, his lenses flashed, and his shoulders shook with laughter. Brother Qin is blushing. This is the first love of youth, and the neon in the painting is not as good as the light and shadow of you two. Qin Feng whistled, Qiao Zhixia covered her mouth with a giggle, Tang Yue's cheeks turned red, and he lowered his head to quickly bandage, but his hands shook even more. While the celebration was in full swing, Qin Feng suddenly became serious and took out a rolled-up old graffiti map from his backpack, a trophy just fished from the corner of the factory. The crayon on the map is yellowed, the mark, Treasure X, points directly to the monster cave deep in the forest, and the abstract lines beat like a pulse. Qin Feng's eyes widened and his fingers trembled. Brother Chen, look. This is a treasure map of artists from the last century. Wang Hu's gang was bribed by Li Hao. They are petty in competition at the art exhibition and want to destroy your style of painting first. Next week's exhibition, they threaten to retaliate. Everyone gasped, and Han Xiao smashed his palm with his fist. Fuck, you dare to touch our artistic soul. Brother Chen, fight back. Qiao Zhixia pinched the bear and flashed her eyes, smashed them with a bear. Jiang Chen tightened his grip on his backpack, and the rope rubbed blood blisters on his palms. His blood surged, and his rebellion turned into the steel of responsibility. The streets I painted are not just on the walls. At the art exhibition, let them kneel and lick. Just as he was full of determination, his phone buzzed and vibrated. Tang Yue's pink phone rang, and the screen displayed, Dad. Her face changed and she answered, Dad, I'm going on an outing on the weekend, during the day. A stern male voice sounded on the other end of the phone, and even Jiang Chen could hear clearly, outing? With that gangster Jiang Chen. Last night you came home smelling of paint, and he led you astray. The college entrance examination is coming soon, art club. Go home and cut off contact. Tang Yue burst into tears, dropped the phone to the ground, and her voice choked up, Dad misunderstood. Chen is not a bad guy, he painted the streets. The air froze, and his friend stared at Jiang Chen with wide eyes. He felt something in his heart, and his self-esteem was as sharp as a knife, being treated as street garbage again. But seeing Tang Yue's tears, he stood up suddenly, picked up his cell phone and shouted, Uncle. It's me, Jiang Chen. I painted the paint last night, for the art exhibition, not for fun. Tang Yue taught me how to mix colors, her parents should praise her for her good taste. The other end of the phone was stunned, silent for 3 seconds, and his voice softened for half a minute, painting? Art exhibition. Prove it, show it to me tomorrow. I'll go to the campus and take a look next week. If you're a loser, don't see her again. After hanging up, Jiang Chen threw the phone back to her. Tang Yue was stunned, her tears were still wet but she burst into tears and smiled. Chen, did you yell at my dad? She threw herself into his arms, her soft body pressed close to her, the scent of jasmine lingered in her nose, and her heart beat like a drum. Tang Yue reacted very quickly. She grabbed the paint can from Han Zhao's easel, and the twilight liquid mixed with dark green and golden yellow poured gurglingly and splashed on the ground. The paint met dust and splashed into a thick mist. The pungent smell of the oil paint filled the air like poisonous gas, and her vision blurred into a strange green and gold cloud. Han Xiao gasped and his voice trembled, Sister Yu, this fog is a magical skill. The fog swallowed up the strong man. Wang Hu coughed and cursed, Ahem, what kind of ghost smoke? Chase. But his footsteps were messed up. Jiang Chen seized the opportunity and knocked over the nearest man with a punch. The punch was bloody and his bones were muffled. The man's eyes turned white and he fell to the ground. The wind blew through the bushes, and the pine needles rustled, mixed with the smell of moist soil. The map trembled in Qin Feng's palm, like a living animal panting. Jiang Chen let go of Tang Yue, her soft residual heat still remained in his chest, his heartbeat was beating like a drum, and his rebellious thorns curved into arcs, damn, this felt like the first stroke of paint on a canvas, and he couldn't hold it back after he fainted. Qiao Zhixia giggled and spun around, the two bears bouncing in her little hands, and the LED light flashed green and cut through the shadows. Brothers, can you go with the treasure? Xiong said, it's super exciting. Han Xiao pushed his lenses, his blonde hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were as bright as the paint cans reflecting the sunlight. Brother Chen, this map is the soul of an artist. Follow along and draw a new street. Qin Feng smashed his palm with a fist, and there was a splash of mud. Let's go. Wang Hu and Li Hao are nothing, the counterattack starts in the forest. Tang Yue's cell phone was buzzing with excitement, and the word, Dad, flashed on the screen like a knife. Her face turned pale, and the blush she had just faded away. Her fingertips trembled as she slid away the message. Yeah, did you hear the phone call clearly just now? That kid Jiang Chen is full of gangster spirit and takes you home at night to do graffiti? Art club. That's a gangster game. Countdown to the college entrance examination. From now on, we are disconnected. Go home and lock the door and wait for me to check. If you don't obey, transfer to another school. The message was followed by a photo of her parents, with a serious face staring like a judge. Tang Yue's lips trembled, tears pitter-pattered on the ground, and small pits were splashed in the soil. Dad, he is not a bad person. He worked hard for the wall, for the painting. She dialed back, and the call was connected. The stern roar on the other end exploded, and even the wind could not suppress it. Explanation. The whole body is covered with the rusty smell of paint. There were reports of riots in the factory last night. The campus is broken. Jiang Chen is a bad guy, your parents are divorced and you are ruining your future. If you don't listen, your living expenses will be cut off. Tang Yue sobbed as the phone fell into the mud and the screen crackled. She knelt down with her knees in her arms and said, Chen. Dad doesn't believe me and says you are a bad influence. What should I do? The air froze instantly, and the companion's eyes widened. Qin Feng loosened his fist, and the compass fell to the ground and rolled. Fuck, uncle is too cruel. Qiao Zhixia's mouth narrowed, and she hugged the bear with tears in her eyes. Sister Yu, a bear hug. Han Zhao's lenses were fogged, and he hugged the easel tightly. Art misunderstanding, parents don't understand the street soul. Jiang Chen's heart was like a hammer, the rebellious flames were extinguished into ashes, and his self-esteem was shattered into slag, being treated as fucking trash again. Street gangster, bad seed, ruined future. The bad thing about my parents' divorce was buried long ago, but now I'm digging it out and throwing it on my face. He stood up suddenly, grabbed the two bears and threw them wildly. The old bear and the new bear rolled in the air, bounced off the tree trunk, the rubber squeaked and deformed, and the green LED light flashed like a will-o'-the-wisp. He growled, I'm a bad boy. Painting people on the street to destroy people. Damn you. The teddy bear was thrown higher and higher, breaking twigs and falling, and mud splashed on his face. However, he threw it harder and harder, his chest felt as tight as a rope, sweat and tears rolled down his face, and he bit his tongue. Qin Feng was the first to pounce on him, wrapping his arms around his waist and hugging him tightly. Brother Chen. Uncle misunderstood, the art exhibition proves it. We brothers will carry it. His voice trembled, his eyes were as red as graffiti beasts, and his admiration continued to grow. Qiao Zhixia came crying and ran over, grabbing the corners of his clothes with her little hands and rubbing them. The sweet smell of mint candy hit her nostrils. Brother, don't be angry. I'll throw the bears with you to destroy Uncle's bad words. She held the two bears high, and the LED flashed to illuminate Jiang Chen's face, and the childlike light stung his eyes. Han Xiao came closer, grabbed the paint can and stuffed it into his hand. Dark blue, gray, and black mixed together like a storm in his heart. Brother Chen, don't smash the bear, draw it. The streets are not bad, they are souls. Draw your entanglements, the rifts of your parents' divorce, the fire of rebellion. Jiang Chen continued with trembling hands. The paint poured out of the jar and splashed onto the tree trunk. The rough bark sucked the juice and turned into blue-gray swirls. He smeared wildly with his fingers, and the pungent oil smell of the paint rushed into his brain. He painted a broken family, a lonely figure on the street, and Tang Yue's tearful face, as fragile as paper torn apart, and a rebellious mask shattered to the ground. When he finished the first stroke, he choked with sobs in his throat. After my parents left, I just threw away toys to relieve my boredom. I don't want to grow up. Han Zhao's eyes widened and his shoulders shook. Brother Chen, this painting is amazing. Vulnerability is the fuel of art. Parents don't understand, but we do. Tang Yue looked up with tears in her eyes and looked at herself in his painting. Warmth flowed in her chest. She stood up and threw herself into his arms. She put her slender hands around her waist. The smell of jasmine mixed with pigment oil lingered in her nose. Chen. I'm sorry, Dad was wrong. What you painted made my heart break. Her pink lips pressed against his ear, her hot breath blew, and ambiguous electricity ran down her spine. Jiang Chen's arms stiffened, he hugged her tightly, and murmured, I'll prove it to him. The trough of wanting to be strong has passed, and the blood slowly returned. The eyes of his partners turned from shock to admiration. Qin Feng blew the whistle. Brother Chen's painting is awesome. Uncle, kneel down. But the crisis was not over yet. Qin Feng shook out the map. Treasure X is deep in the forest. Counterattack against the school bully. Start from here. Let's go. They sneaked into the edge of the forest according to the map. The sunlight was dappled on the leaves, dead branches crunched under their footsteps, pine resin stuck to the soles of their shoes, and the air was moist and sweet and sour with wild fruits. The crayon lines on the map dance, pointing to the dark shadow of the monster cave, and the surrounding paw prints of wild beasts are as abstract as artistic symbols. Han Xiao whispered, the artists of the last century have hidden treasures, maybe secret paint recipes or street masterpieces. Just as he was excited, the sky suddenly became gloomy, raindrops fell like needles, crackling leaves, and the dirt road instantly became slippery. Tang Yue's feet slipped and she screamed and fell to the ground. Her skirt was soaked and stuck to her legs, revealing her curves. She blushed and struggled, slippery. Jiang Chen's heart tightened, and he was rebellious, steely and gentle. He squatted and carried her, his slender waist lightly pressed against his back, wet hair dripping down his neck, and the coolness and hot blood boiled. Come up. Dad forbids it. I'll carry you in. Her little face was buried in her face. On his shoulders, hot tears mixed with the rain. Chen. Dad is against it, I'm afraid. But I like you, and I want to take risks with you since I was a kid. His voice was as trembling as raindrops, his pink lips inadvertently brushed his earlobe, and an electric shock shot through his body. Jiang Chen stumbled for a moment, and his throat rolled, I'm afraid of you. At the art exhibition, I'll draw a picture of our backs to shut him up. The rain intensified, crackling like a drum, and his friends were soaked in the rain. Qin Feng laughed, Brother Chen is romantic. Carrying my sister on an adventure, God. His eyes widened, the rain flowed down his face, and his admiration burned like fire. Qiao Zhixia splashed into the puddle, throwing the two bears high to cover the rain, and the LED green light flashed like shooting stars in the rain and mist, bearing dancing in the rain. Everyone laughed. The toy bounced and slapped, and the rubber made a clear and slippery sound. She giggled, her innocence dispelled the rain and cold, and everyone's mouths raised. Han Xiao mixed paint while running, mixed waterproof resin with golden color, and painted tree trunks to mark arrows. The oil paint did not fade and shone in the rain. Look. My mark, magic waterproofing, artistic navigation. His blonde hair stuck to his face, raindrops rolled down his lenses, and his voice trembled with excitement. Qin Feng took the lead to find an open space, grabbed his backpack and threw out the rope. The hemp rope was slippery on his hands. He rushed to fix it between the trees, pulling the frame of the shed with leaves as the top, and the rainwater flowed along the leaves and ditches. The shed is set up. Brother Chen, come in. The mud in the shed was wet, and everyone sat crowded together. The world outside the rain curtain was as blurry as a canvas. The division of labor is clear. Qin Feng patrols the border, Qiao Zhixia makes fun of the bear, blushing and spinning around. The bear tells jokes, it's not boring on rainy days. Han Xiao continues to draw marks, the paint can grunts. Tang Yue leans on Jiang Chen's shoulder, the wet clothes are close to the body and warm and ambiguous. Jiang Chen's arm hurt, and he was carrying a heavy load on her back. The responsibility was like a rope tightening his heart. This forest is more cruel than a factory, with Wang Hu following you. Is the treasure worth it? As night falls, the rain stops and the forest becomes wet. The Qin wind lights the campfire, firewood branches crackle and burst, the firelight jumps and shines on the face, and the pine smoke hits the nose with the sweet smell of roasted wild fruits. Everyone sat around, the flames crackling and licking the air. Tang Yue rested his head on Jiang Chen's legs and fluttered his eyelashes. Chen, Dad's message is still heartbreaking, but with you, it feels like a free bird in a painting. Qiao Zhixia hugged her knees, the two bears squeezed into the fire and the LED flashed. Brother, tell me why you threw toys when you were a child. Jiang Chen stared at the flames. The rebellious mask was completely cracked, and his voice was low and hoarse. I was 8 years old when my parents divorced. My father ran away, my mother remarried, and the family was broken into pieces. I threw toys on the street, bouncing like my heart was dying. Rebellious? You just don't want to grow up, for fear of being hit on the head by responsibility. After the words were spoken, the firelight stretched his shadow, as fragile as blue-gray paint. Qin Feng clapped his legs and laughed. Brother Chen, be brave. Half of the misunderstanding is resolved. Han Xiao gestured, this phone call is art fuel. Qiao Zhixia hugged the bear and spun around, romantic. Jiang Chen hugged Tang Yue tightly, his backpack was heavy on his shoulders, the map was hunting in the wind, and the dark shadow of the secret forest flickered in front of him. The cracks of rebellion and transformation are getting bigger and bigger, blood is splashing like paint, and the carnival of youth has just been ignited. While they were having a heart-to-heart talk, there was a sudden rumble deep in the forest. The roar of a wild beast exploded like thunder, with a low sound that shook the ground. The leaves rustled down, and the smell of earth hit your face. The fire flickered and everyone's faces turned pale. Qin Feng grabbed the compass needle and turned around. Fuck, the direction of the monster cave. Is Wang Hu following him or is it a real beast? Qiao Zhixia screamed and hugged the bear, LED green light flashed randomly, Tang Yue grabbed Jiang Chen, and Han Xiao dropped his easel. Ground, roar. Artist's prophecy. Jiang Chen stood up fiercely, swung his backpack over his shoulders, grabbed the rope, and burst out with passion, here we come. I'm here to survive, break into treasures, and fight back against the school bully. Youthful carnival, let's burn. The roar got closer, footsteps. Paw prints. Darkness swallows the figure, and the black hole of adventure opens its mouth. The roar rolled through the forest like thunder, causing the campfire flames to tremble wildly, causing sparks to crackle in all directions. The choking pine smoke mixed with the wet smell of mud hit our faces. In the darkness, the shadows of the trees twist like ghost claws, the sound of footsteps. The claws scraped the ground and made a crisp sound, getting closer and closer. The faces of the companions turned pale, and the air froze into ice slag. Qin Feng was the first to jump up, his fists smashed into the ground and splashed with mud, his voice shaking like dead leaves in the wind. Fuck. It's not a king tiger, it's a pack of real wild dogs. The map is off, the direction of the monster cave is all wrong. His compass spun wildly, the tip of the needle dancing wildly like a heart twitching, his eyes widened and turned red, and the blood of admiring Jiang Chen was instantly turned into ashes of panic. Qiao Zhixia screamed and hugged the two bears tightly. The LED green lights of the old and new bears flashed wildly, reflecting her pale face. The rubber body squeezed and creaked. Brother, the bear is afraid. The roar bites. Tang Yue grabbed Jiang Chen's arm tightly, pinching his slender fingers into the flesh, and the nails stung like needles. Her eyes were filled with tears, and the scent of jasmine mixed with the smell of sweat. Air twists his nose. Chen, Dad said you are a bad bastard, and you are still lost. We are doomed. Han Zhao's easel fell to the ground with a splash. The lenses were foggy, and his blonde hair was wet and messy against his face. His voice was trembling and he pushed him. Brother Chen, shout about the prophecy of art. But the map, we have deviated from Treasure X, and our artistic soul will be broken. The hammer in Jiang Chen's heart smashed the rebellious shell. The inner demons of his parents' divorce were still burning, and now the roar of wild dogs exploded into a pit of despair. He grabbed his backpack and threw it over his shoulders. The old graffiti map was shaking, and the crayon lines from his childhood were distorted under the firelight like a laughing ghost. The eyes of his companions were broken, and Qin Feng murmured, Brother Chen, I can't bear it. The trough was overwhelming, and his self-esteem was like a muddy pit. Jiang Chen roared with blood in his throat, afraid of me. Leader, listen to me. He dug out the dust-covered compass from the depths of his backpack, held the rusty metal coldly in his palm, turned the dial to align with the North Star, and the needle tip slowly stabilized, pointing to the dense fog forest on the left. The map is to the east, the roar is from the right. Go around to the left, and mark again by the stream. His voice was as low as the aftertaste of thunder, and his companions gasped. Qin Feng's eyes were as big as bells, and his shoulders were shaking. Brother Chen. God. Backpack your childhood artifact, help. Blood bounced from despair. Jiang Chen took the lead, swinging the rope around his waist to fix it, stepping on the dead branches and rushing forward. The mud on the soles of his shoes was sticky and stringy. The mist in the forest is like a ghost's breath. The mud is squelching under your footsteps. The roar of wild dogs is close at hand. The low whine and the sound of teeth grinding bones. The fishy wind hits your nose and smells of rotten leaves. Qin Feng gritted his teeth and climbed the tree, pulling the hemp rope on the branches, blood dripping from his palms. He hung in the air and yelled, Brother Chen. 3 wild dogs on the right, yellow-eyed will-o'-the-wisps. Black shadow at the entrance of the cave, following the king tiger. The bark of the tree was rough and painful, and his vision was through the fog, and his voice trembled with excitement and panic. Qiao Zhixia's face turned pale, and she held the 2 bears high and threw them wildly. The new bear's LED green light arced like a shooting star, and the old bear's rubber bounced and hit the tree trunk to attract the shadow of the dog. Bear bait. Dogs chase bears but don't bite. The toys rolled over and splashed in the mud, and the green light flashed randomly. Reflecting the white teeth of the dogs, the wild dogs turned around and whimpered and pounced on the bears. Their paw prints were deep in the mud. She giggled and cried, Brother, look. Bear hero. Her childlike light pierced the darkness. Jiang Chen's heart felt warm, and his rebellious steel merged with his childish heart. Tang Yue and Han Zhao stood side by side, the paint cans gurgling out, fluorescent green and yellow mixed like will-o'-the-wisp juice. The pungent smell of oil paint rushed into their brains. Their fingers brushed against the tree trunks. The arrows flickered in the rain and mist. Fluorescent mark. Follow the arrow. Han Zhao's glasses reflected green light, and his shoulders shook like chaff. Brother Chen, this paint, artistic navigation, God. The mark stretched out the light path. Everyone stepped on the arrow and ran wildly, and the roar gradually faded into the distance. But a crisis broke out. Tang Yue slipped into a mud pit and screamed. Her skirt splashed with mud. She grabbed the air with her arms. Ah! Chen! The mud pit was as deep as her waist. Brown and black mud was bubbling, and the smell of corpse gas hit her nostrils. She cried in despair and said, Dad is right, you are so reckless, you will kill me in the forest. Jiang Chen's heart was as sharp as a knife, and his rebellious shell was burning with responsibility. He rushed to grab her wrist. you. Hold on. He slipped into the edge of the pit, and the rope came loose. The two of them fell into the mud, and the wetness wrapped around their bodies like a living thing, and the coldness tightened their lungs. The trough pressed again, the mud puddle swallowed his chest, Jiang Chen gasped for breath, and the mud burst into his mouth, and Tang Yue cried, "It's all your fault. You always try to be strong, Dad forbids you to be a bad person, and I still talk to, where is my self-esteem?" Her voice was choked, and her self-esteem collided like sparks exploding, and the ambiguous current turned into a misunderstood ice blade. Qin Feng shouted from the tree, "Brother Chen. The rope is lost, the pit is 3 meters deep." Flames of jealousy flashed in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and tried to save him first, but was too late. Qiao Zhixia threw the edge of the bear, and the green light reflected the pit. "Brother, hold on. Bear pull." Han Xiao painted the wall with fluorescent lights. "Persevere, art is a way to make a living." Jiang Chen's throat rolled, and his rebellious background was burned into the ashes of responsibility. "You. I am reckless." "Wrong. Responsibility is born for you. From the moment I threw the toy, I wanted to protect you to the end of the world." He inhaled sharply, choked with mud, and pressed his hands tightly against the wall of the pit. His nails were broken and blood flowed into the mud. His arms were injured and burned. He dragged his body up, and every inch of the mud was broken. Tang Yue was stunned, tears mixed with mud, and warmth exploded in her chest. She grabbed his arm and pulled with all her strength. "Chen, I'm sorry, I was wrong. The responsibility is for me." The two of them pulled each other to the side of the mud pit, and rolled out wet, covered in mud. The clothes were close to her skin, her curves were exposed, and she threw herself into his arms. Her wet hair was wrapped around her neck, her pink lips brushed the corners of her lips, and she said with an electric shock, "You are stupid, hero." The hug was tight, the spark of first love was ignited, her heartbeat was beating like a drum, and the scent of jasmine mixed with mud and ambiguity exploded. Qin Feng fell to the ground under the tree, his eyes widened and his shoulders trembling. "Brother Chen, his magical ability to save his sister. I'm jealous, but my brother will always carry you." He punched his palms, jealousy turned to admiration, his voice trembled and he wiped tears. Qiao Zhixia rushed to hug her legs. "Brother, the mud bear. So handsome." The two bears bounced on the mud, and the LED flashed and wet the hug. Han Xiao pushed up the fog on his lenses, and his blonde hair danced wildly. "This hug, the painting is progressing. Transformation, Brother Chen." When the crisis arose, they ran wildly following the fluorescent arrows, with the gurgling sound of the stream in front of them, and the silver light breaking through the fog like salvation. The open space beside the stream is wet with moss and soft to the feet. Qin Feng grabs firewood and lights a fire wildly. The flames crackle and burst into his face. The aroma of grilled fish and wild fruits is fragrant. The stream water is clear and boiling. Everyone was sitting around, the mud clothes were steaming dry and the heat was lingering. Tang Yue leaned against Jiang Chen's shoulder and scratched the mark on the palm of his hand with his slender fingers. "Chen, I just misunderstood. Dad banned you, and my heart breaks. But your words of responsibility are like paint that makes the mind dizzy." Her hot breath blew into her ears, and the ambiguity burned brightly. Qiao Zhixia divided the fish, the two bears squeezed the fire and the LED flashed. "Brother, eat. Tell me about your dream." Jiang Chen stared at the flames, transforming like a gray phoenix setting a prairie fire, and murmured, "I am participating in the art exhibition. Paint the transformation on the street, the rift between parents, and our backs, prove it to Dad Yu, Wang Hu, and Li Hao. No more throwing away toys to relieve boredom, and carry on your dreams when you grow up." After saying this, his friends gasped, and Qin Feng's fist hit the ground with sparks. "Brother Chen. I promise, brother, follow." His eyes were red with admiration, and his shoulders were shaking like sieves. Han Zhao's lenses shimmered with fire, the soul of the street participating in the competition, blessed by the secret recipe treasure, a masterpiece. Tang Yue pressed her pink lips against his cheek, kissing him like a touch of paint. My hero, we were together in college. Qiao Zhixia giggled, vote for MVP. Stars are reflected in the stream late at night, and the shadows are blended by the firelight. Sharing dreams is like muddy paint. Qin Feng Ho Adventure Club, Han Xiaoming Street Art Exhibition, Tang Yue Whispering Art University, Qiao Zhixia's laughter and bare childlike innocence will remain forever. Jiang Chen's arm injury aches and turns to power, the rope of responsibility tightens his heart, and his rebellious transformation begins to show. Dawn breaks through the fog, golden light shines over the stream, birds chirp loudly, and the phone buzzes. Tang Yue turns pale and slides away, and Wang Hu's message explodes, photos of them hugging by the campfire, getting wet in the mud puddle, and fluorescent markers are all exposed. Jiang Chen is a bad guy, sleeping in the forest at night and causing chaos. Before the art exhibition, my friends are here to meet. The location is locked, waiting to die by the stream. The school bully group mocked the picture, with paw prints and dog shadows, and the crisis was like a black hole. Qin Feng punched the stone and splashed water. Wang Hu is following and exposed. Revenge and explosion. Jiang Chen grabbed his backpack and shouted with enthusiasm, "Here we come. The treasure will go first, and the art exhibition will counterattack." Youth burns. The partners' eyes changed from shock to iron-blooded, and in the aftertaste of the roar, the claws of a new crisis loomed. The golden light of dawn shines all over the stream, the mist slowly recedes like a gauze, the gurgling stream is mixed with the chirping of birds, and the lingering aroma of grilled fish mixed with moss and moist earthy smell in the air hits your nostrils. The embers of the campfire crackled slightly, reflecting the tired but iron-blooded faces of everyone. Jiang Chen held on to the shoulder straps of his backpack. The old graffiti map was shaking in the morning wind, and the crayon lines from his childhood were curved like a transformed spine. He took a deep breath of the clear stream wind, and the wounds on his arms were faintly burning with warmth. Brothers, take a breath first. Wild dogs have bypassed, what's the point of Wang Hu being exposed? Take stock of the harvest, prepare for the art exhibition and treasure. His head hit his knees and splashed with mud, and his eyes were round and red with admiration and trembling. Brother Chen, God. Last night, I rescued you Mei from the mud puddle, and the compass needle went steadily around the left stream. I am a passionate family member. His shoulders were shaking like chaff, and his blood bounced from panic. He grabbed the climbing rope and swung it around his waist to check, and the crackling sound echoed in the forest. Qiao Zhixia's little face was stained with mud, and the two bears were squeezed into her arms. The new bear's LED green light was still shining slightly on her pale and pink cheeks. The old bear's rubber body creaked and squeezed. She giggled and gasped, holding the two bears high in the air and bouncing in the air. Brother, look. Bear, the hero last night, lured the dog, the green bear light meteor to save lives. Now take stock, the bear is a lucky charm, and the art exhibition is voted MVP. The toy rolled on the ground and splashed in the mud, the green light arced like sparks of childlike innocence, the pungent smell of rubber mixed with the clear stream water filled her nose. She threw her legs and hugged her tightly, her warm little body pressed against Jiang Chen's knees, and the ambiguous childishness current flowed through her heart. Tang Yue leaned on his shoulder, her wet hair wrapped around her neck with the scent of jasmine. She lightly traced the mud marks on his palms with her slender fingers. The residual heat from last night's embrace was burning. Chen, the magical skill of fluorescent marking. The paint is mixed with the mud of the stream and is immortal. Dad's misunderstanding was broken. But what about my self-esteem? Yesterday's misunderstanding was reckless, and my heart was broken like a torn canvas. Her hot breath blew in her ears, her pink lips trembled slightly, her eyes were ambiguous and collided with the spark of self-esteem, and the rising and falling curves of her chest were alluring in the morning light. Han Xiao pushed the fogged lenses, his blonde hair was stuck to his forehead and was wet. He grabbed the paint can and shook it. The fluorescent green and yellow juice swayed like a will-o'-the-wisp liquid, and the pungent smell of oil paint rushed into his brain. Brother Chen, yesterday I painted arrows on the wall of the pit to find a way, and the art navigation was upgraded. Now mix the new formula, green and yellow plus blue and gray, trap camouflage, watering tree trunks with invisible. Jiang Chen nodded, with the responsibility rope tightening in his heart. He opened the dusty backpack, held the rusty compass in his cold hands, and turned the needle tip to steady the North Pole image. Full harvest, the compass saves lives, the rope is fixed, the fluorescence is immortal, and the map is corrected to the east. Power, Qin Feng taught rope climbing, Han Xiao prepared traps, Zhixia xiong bait, and you painted battle flags. The art exhibition proved the transformation. The partners gasped, Qin Feng's eyes widened like copper bells, and his fists banged. Brother Chen takes stock like a military advisor, and the adventure club dreams. The brief tranquility was like breathing before a storm. They gathered around the embers of the fire to eat wild fruits. The sweet and sour juice exploded in their mouths and cooled their mouths. The stream boiled and they washed themselves in mud. The steaming steam dried their clothes, and the curves were exposed and the temperature increased. Jiang Chen's arm was injured and the blood and mud dried up, and he murmured the inspiration for the canvas. The rift between parents is blue and gray. Yesterday we rescued each other in the mud pit and embraced red and warm. Street transformation, a masterpiece. Tang Yue's pink lips pressed against his ear, whispering, I will paint the hero painting, let's go to college together. The intention of a hot kiss is like paint smearing, and the aftermath of self-esteem and misunderstanding melts into sweetness. Qiao Zhixia threw the bear in the air in a series, and the green light bounced and danced wildly. Bear training, stumbling magic skill. Qin Feng swung the rope and hooked the tree, and Han Xiao brushed the invisible mark and flashed. The flames of youth are blazing by the stream, and dreams are like muddy paint. Counterattack at art exhibitions, treasures. A sudden outbreak, the sound of footsteps in the deep shade of the trees, mixed with low curses and the thump of sticks on the trees, the fishy wind and the smell of smoke assailed the nostrils, and black shadows appeared in the morning mist like a group of ghosts. Wang Hu took the lead, his shoulder wound was wrapped with blood seeping from it, followed by a dozen or so school bully gangsters holding iron and wooden clubs, their eyes red with will-o'-the-wisps, roaring loudly, Jiang Chen, the bad guy. He made a mess at night, and the photos were circulated throughout the school, and he waited for death by the stream before the art exhibition. He flicked his mobile phone and the screen lit up, hugging by the campfire, getting wet in the mud puddle, and fluorescent markers were exposed in high definition, and the group's ridiculing messages scrolled like a poisonous snake spitting messages. Qin Feng was the first to bounce up, his fists smashed on the ground and splashed with mud, his voice shook like dead leaves in the wind turning to iron blood. Fuck. Wang Hu is out flanking him, more than a dozen people, I will fight hand to hand. But his legs were weak and panicked, and he stared at Jiang Chen with trembling shoulders. Qiao Zhixia screamed and hugged the bear, her little face turned pale as the old and new bear's LED green light flashed wildly. Brother, the dogs turned into wolves. The bears are afraid of being bitten. Tang Yue grabbed Jiang Chen's arm tightly, her nails stung like needles, her eyes filled with tears. Xiang Han sweated, Chen. Dad said you were a bad boy. Now the school bullies are surrounding you and your self-esteem is shattered. We will die by the stream. Han Zhao's easel clicked, his lenses were fogged, and his blonde hair shook. Brother Chen, are you artistically broken? The trap is too late. The trough is like a mud pit swallowing again. Jiang Chen's heart is smashed with a hammer, and the inner demons of his parents' divorce are burned into the flames of responsibility. He roars with blood in his throat, afraid of shit. The team obeys the order and fights back. He grabs the backpack and throws out the rope to fix the creek rock. It makes a crisp sound as steady as a rock, and points to the north pole of the compass. Qin Feng fights hand to hand with the left rope and climbs high. Zhixia throws the bear and stumbles in the middle. Tang Yue's battle flag inspired the right wing. Han Zhao's fluorescent trap blinded the whole audience, and I took the lead in a paint camouflage. The voice was low and thunderous, and his companions gasped. Qin Feng's eyes widened and his shoulders shook wildly. Brother Chen, commanding God. Brother, come on. He jumped with blood, the rope hooked the tree, blood dripped from his palm, and the first gangster's nose blood sprayed with a thud. Qiao Zhixia held up the two bears and threw them wildly. The new bear's LED green light flashed like a shooting star, hitting their feet and tripping three people. The old bear's rubber bounced and wrapped around its legs. The gangster threw it into the air and splashed into the creek. She giggled and cried, the bear tripped the wolf. The hero flashed. The green light reflected the dog's teeth and white shadows, and the childlike light pierced the outflanking black tide. Tang Yue bit her lip, her pride burning. She grabbed canvas paint and painted wildly on the creek rocks. The impromptu battle flag turned from blue and gray to red and warm, and the projection of the tree trunk swayed and encouraged. Chen transformed into a hero, youth burns. Her voice trembled and turned high-pitched, her fingers were drawn with paint, the battle flag reflected the morning light like a phoenix starting a prairie fire, and the right-wing gangster's eyes were confused and his steps were erratic. Han Zhao's lenses were reflected in chaos, and his blonde hair was flying. He poured a can of fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray juice on the ground, and the pungent oil paint rushed into his brain like a will-o'-the-wisp, blinding the enemy's eyes, blinded by art. Follow the trap. The gangster rubbed his eyes and screamed, his vision was blurred with green and yellow, the world was distorted, and the stick was swung into the air. Wang Hu roared forward, the iron rod roared, death, bad boy. But Jiang Chen came back, swinging his backpack with invisible fluorescent marks on his waist, making no sound, and the mud on the soles of his shoes was sticky. He pounced on Wang Hu's back, his arm was lacerated and bloody, and his fist hit his shoulder with a thud and a bloody mess. Expose me? Hand over the art exhibition information. Wang Hu screamed and fell to the ground, his phone slipped, and the screen showed the secret files of the art exhibition, Li Hao's planning, the list of contestants, and the evidence of Wang Hu's destruction of the wall were all exposed. The scene of the fierce battle is the ultimate, the stream is splashing with blood and red, the stick is cracking and breaking, the roar is mixed with the whimpering, the green and yellow mist of paint is choking and dazzling, the bare LED green light meteor is dancing and stumbling, the rope is yanking and the blood and sweat are splashing in the air, and the battle flag is swaying and inspiring. The gangsters' faces were pale, their eyes were shattered, they rubbed their eyes and staggered back, ghost fog. The bear bites the foot, what a team. Qin Feng fell to the ground, his fists were stained with blood and he smashed the last stick, his eyes red with admiration, Brother Chen's counterattack skill. I am jealous to pieces, but brothers will always carry it. He threw himself at Jiang Chen and hugged him, his shoulders shaking like brothers' iron-blooded reconciliation, and his tears mixed with sweat. Qiao Zhixia jumped on her legs and hugged the bear, brother, the team wins. Bear MVP. Tang Yue burst into tears, and Han Zhao pushed his glasses, his foggy blonde hair danced wildly, repulse. The data robs the mind, the artistic soul ignites. Jiang Chen shouted with his throat tearing, the team wins. Youth burns out. The sound echoed in the valley, and his friends roared in response to Zhenlin, their adoring eyes like starbursts. Exhausted and orgasmic release, Tang Yue fell into Jiang Chen's arms, her wet hair wrapped around her neck and her pink lips pressed directly into each other's arms. The hot kiss was like exploding paint, and the electric shock on the tip of her tongue ran through her heart. The jasmine-scented mixed blood sweat ambiguously affirmed her love, Chen. I like your transformation. From a bad seed to a hero, my dad misunderstood me, and the hot kiss in college will always be sweet. Her slender fingers pinched her arm and the pain turned sweet, her self-esteem collided with sparks, and her chest heaved and pressed with steam. Jiang Chen felt warm in his heart, and his rebellion turned mature. I am responsible for you. Kissing by the Lang River, the friends gasped and laughed awkwardly. Qin Feng fisted his palms, sweet. Brother escort. On the way back, their footsteps were muddy and brushed, they followed the invisible fluorescent arrow through the forest, and the end of the map loomed. The deep forest lake shimmered with silver light, surrounded by abandoned easel stone tablets, the holy land of artists of the last century, the treasure. At the moment of celebration, Jiang Chen threw the two bears high, and the LED green light bounced in the air. The old and new bears reflected in the lake, and the shadow of the child remained forever, and his friends giggled and roared in response. But the phone buzzed and shattered my joy. The school notification popped up, and the principal's stern words were as sharp as a knife. Jiang Chen is suspected of destroying public property in the forest, evidence of Wang Hu's complaint, photo exposed, review before art exhibition, fear of expulsion. Return to school immediately for explanation. The screen froze everyone's faces. Qin Feng punched the tree and said, Wang Hu counterattacks. Dropout crisis? Tang Yue scratched her arm with tears in her eyes. Chen, will Dad believe it? The black hole of crisis opened again, and the holy land of the lake turned to the edge of despair. Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with blood. Resist. The art exhibition proves everything. Youth is immortal. Lin Feng roared, and his minions loomed deeper. The silver scales of the lake are shattered in the morning mist. The abandoned easel and stone monument are tilted by the lake in the deep forest. The ancient oil paints are rotten and smelly, mixed with moss and mildew. The people's footsteps are muddy and sticky, and the shoulder straps of the backpack are pinched and the flesh of the shoulders is burning. The screen of Jiang Chen's mobile phone was cold and dazzling, and the principal's words were like a hammer hitting his heart. Suspected of forest destruction, damage to public property, photo evidence of Wang Hu's complaint, the art exhibition qualification is frozen, return to school immediately. The notification buzzed with aftershocks, and the palms were slippery with sweat, and the lake breeze blew up the fallen leaves like black clouds. Qin Feng smashed his fist on the stone tablet and it broke into pieces. His eyes were red and round and turned to ashes in despair. His voice was shaking like a candle in the wind. Brother Chen, drop out of school. I have a passionate family and all my wealth is in the adventure club. Now Wang Hu is counterattacking, and the school bully's minions have bitten the dream. His shoulders collapsed, hot tears and mud flowed down his face, and his fist dropped weakly to the lakeside, splashing stagnant water ripples. Qiao Zhixia's face turned pale and she hugged the two bears tightly. The new bear's LED green light flashed faintly, reflecting the creaking and squeezing of the old bear's rubber body. Her sobs were as small as cracked glass. Brother, the bear MVP tripped the wolf and won the battle, and now he dropped out of school and swallowed the black hole. The art exhibition voting dream was shattered, and the innocent bear bit the air. The green light arced weakly into the mud, and the pungent rubber smell mixed with the lake and stung her nose. She threw herself at Jiang Chen's legs and her knees trembled, and her hot tears burned through the trousers and stabbed her heart. Tang Yue grabbed Jiang Chen's arm tightly, her nails pierced into the flesh and blood oozed out. Her eyes were full of tears, the scent of jasmine mixed with sweat and soreness hit her face, her pink lips trembled and her self-esteem was shattered. Chen. Dad misunderstood yesterday and exposed the bad guy. Now that he has dropped out of school, he will believe Wang Hu. What nonsense. My self-esteem is like a torn canvas, and our dream of a passionate kiss in college is shattered at the bottom of the lake. Her chest heaved and pressed against his waist, her wet hair wrapped around her neck and her hot breath blew into her ears. The ambiguous current and the ice needles of despair coursed through her heart, and her slender fingers pinched and became incapable of letting go. Han Xiao pushed the fogged lenses, his blonde hair stuck to his forehead and became sticky. He grabbed the paint can and shook it. Fluorescent juice swayed like embers of a will-o'-the-wisp, and the pungent oil paint rushed to his forehead. Brother Chen. The secret file is to seize the gods to counterattack Li Hao, and now the complaint locks up the art exhibition. Transformation of youth-themed paintings, trap camouflage inspiration is cut off. The lenses shattered in the light of the lake, his shoulders shook, admiration turned to panic, and his voice trembled as he murmured, street masterpieces compete in the competition, and the dream of counter-killing, black clouds are over the city. Jiang Chen's heart was hammered again, and the inner demon of his parents' divorce resurfaced and turned to the quagmire of responsibility. He roared, his throat dry and bloody, "Stop it. Go back to school first, the art exhibition proves everything, I am immortal." But his voice was hoarse and cracked, the shoulder straps of his backpack were bruised, the holy lake turned into an abyss of despair, and his footsteps were stuck in the mud. On the way back, footsteps clicked in the forest, the invisible fluorescent arrow disappeared in the morning light, leaving only the afterimage as a guide, the gurgling stream hummed mockingly, and the air was heavy with humidity and weighed on my lungs like lead. The rusty iron gate of the school gate opens and closes creakingly, the campus bells ring dully, the senior high school teaching building is shadowed, and the fallen leaves on the playground are blown by the wind like the ghost of the school bully. Jiang Chen pushed open the office door. In front of the principal's desk, Wang Hu's shoulder wound was wrapped with blood seeping out. The corners of his mouth were grinning with yellow teeth. The smell of cigarette smoke filled his nostrils. Li Hao pushed up his glasses in the shadow of the back row and a cold light flashed. Photos were printed and the ironclad evidence was spread out, a campfire embraced the wet body, the mud puddle fluorescently marked the destruction of rocks in the stream, and the high-definition exposure showed the whole school's group ridiculing the message, "Bad species deforestation in the field and drop out of school." The principal banged his brows on the table. "Jiang Chen, the evidence is conclusive. The forest property was destroyed, the art exhibition was disqualified, and the expulsion penalty will be implemented immediately." Wang Hu's roar exploded, and the lingering sound of the stick breaking last night, "Bad breed. The ghost and fog bear bite by the stream, I have 10 brothers certificate, drop out and go to the streets." Li Hao smiled sinisterly and said, "The monitor's testimony, the adventure ruined the reputation of the school, the divorce of parents is the nature of a bad breed." Qin Feng punched the wall outside the door, his eyes widened with red eyes and a sullen face. "Brother Chen. The school bullies surrounded the ironclad, I can't handle it in hand-to-hand combat." Qiao Zhixia hugged the bear and squatted on the ground, her face turned pale with tears as the LED green light flashed randomly. "The bear is afraid of the black hole of dropping out." Han Zhao's blonde hair shook, and the pungent smell of paint cans circled the room. The muddy pit of despair was swallowing again. Tang Yue suddenly burst in, her wet hair fluttered and the jasmine fragrance exploded. She bit her pink lip and bit the blood, and hit the principal's desk with pride. "Principal. Jiang Chen is innocent. One who bribed to expose false evidence, self-defense and counterattack by the stream, I testify. Dad is strict and believes me, the photo is a misunderstanding hug to save life, not sabotage." Her voice was trembling and high-pitched, and she threw out the war flag with her slender fingers. The blue, gray and red warm projection of the photo, the invisible mark of the holy land of the lake, proved her artistic transformation. Wang Hu's face turned pale and he rubbed the remnants of his eyes. "Ghost girl, blinded by fluorescent trap." Li Hao pushed the mirror and trembled with cold sweat. "Tang Yue, Dad knows." The principal frowned, knocked on the table and muttered, "The testimonial is valid, the expulsion is suspended. However, the qualification review for the art exhibition is pending." Wang Hu's complaint continues. Tang Yue threw herself at Jiang Chen's arms, her tears ambiguously colliding with the embers of self-esteem. "Chen can hold on a little, but it is still unresolved, and the dark cloud remains." Walking out of the office, the campus bells rang with suppressed roar, and the blood-red sunset stretched the shadows. Jiang Chen's injured arm turned to the flames of responsibility. He grabbed his backpack and shouted, "Step up. The art exhibition proves the counterattack." Han Xiao pushed the mirror and trembled with excitement, leading him to the art classroom, where fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray cans overturning the canvas, the pungent oil paint mixed with lake mud and wet earth hit your nostrils. "Brother Chen, the theme is, transformation of youth. Blue and gray are rebellious and fragile plus red and warm embrace adventure, the tree trunk breaks and turns into a lake phoenix, integrating double bear LED meteors, rope aerial combat, invisible trap camouflage." His fingers were brushing wildly, the canvas was smeared with will-o'-the-wisp juice, and his shoulders were trembling with admiration. "The street masterpiece is upgraded, a magical skill." Jiang Chen shook the pen and ink spattered, the rebellious shell cracked and responsibility surged, and the blue-gray family rift slowly smeared into the fluorescent red and warm lake light, parents' blue ashes. Mud pits to save each other. Qin Feng picked up the materials box and smashed his palms with mud. Brothers collected wild fruit lake mud and discarded easel stone powder. I bear the pressure with passion. His eyes were red and he was admiring, his shoulders were shaking like iron chains of friendship, and his nose was filled with sweat and paint. Qiao Zhixia threw the two bears and bounced in the air, and the LED green light arced and reflected on the canvas. She was inspired, brother. Bear MVP stumbling elements are added, and the innocent green light repels the black tide. She fluttered her legs, her small body pressed to her knees, and the ambiguous childlike current ran through her heart. The rubber squeaked and screamed, laughing and crying. Tang Yue leaned on her shoulder and lightly traced the paint mark on his palm with her slender fingers. The scent of jasmine wrapped around her neck and her warm breath blew into her ears. Chen. Dad has softened and invited you to have dinner with us. Share your story and win recognition. Her pink lips trembled slightly, the aftermath of misunderstanding of self-esteem melted into sweetness and ambiguity, and the rising and falling curves of her chest were seductive in the sunset. Dinner at Tang's house, the table was steaming with the aroma of rice, and his father's stern brows softened. You said help me by the stream, bad guy. Jiang Chen lowered his head and trembled with his chopsticks, his throat bloody. Uncle, my parents are divorced, I'm a gray-eyed demon, I was rebellious on the streets and wasted my time by throwing teddy bears around. Yesterday's adventure transformed me into responsibility, for pleasure, for the team. His voice was hoarse, his father's eyes were round and his wine glass was shaking, his shoulders were trembling with admiration. Boy. Transformation. Dad believes in it, the art exhibition proves it. Tang Yue's eyes fell on the table, and he clenched his hot hands with an ambiguous electric shock. Dad, Hero Chen. The night was oppressive, and they took a look at the lake. The silver blade of the moonlight cut through the tree shadows, their footsteps were muddy, and cracks loomed behind the stone tablet where the invisible fluorescent arrow ended. Jiang Chen pushed the rope to fix it with a squeaking sound, and got into the cave. The ancient charm of damp, moldy oil paint burst into his nose, and the murals were filled with the brushstrokes of artists from the last century. Blue and gray transformed into red and warm lake light, a backpack adventure bear toy carnival, and a graduation cap thrown away to dream of the end of the world. Qin Feng's fist banged on his palm, his eyes widened in admiration. Brother Chen. The god of inspiration for treasure D green light danced on the wall of the cave, bearing home. Tang Yue threw her arms into her arms and the scent of jasmine exploded. She pressed her pink lips to her ear and kissed her passionately with the intention, Chen, the university mural will last forever. Jiang Chen felt warm in his heart, and his rebellious shell completely transformed into responsible scales. He murmured, I will grow up for you. On the eve of the exhibition, the lights in the art classroom were dim, the canvas, transforming youth, was filled with blue, gray, red and warm will-o'-the-wisps, the two bears were in corner LED standby, and the ropes were drawn with invisible markers. Suddenly, footsteps clacked outside the window, sticks banged on the glass, and the smell of smoke mingled with the king's roar, bad species. All the paint was stolen, and the art exhibition was shattered. A black shadow rushed into the smashed can of paint, splashing pungent green, yellow, blue, and gray mist. The canvas was torn and clacked, and the secret file was burned and ashes flew. Qin Feng raised his fist and punched the air. Wang Hu's night attack. I can't handle it. Qiao Zhixia screamed and hugged the bear, the green light flashed wildly, bear bite. Tang Yue cried and scratched his arm, Chen. Dad's approval is broken, and his self-esteem is broken again. Han Zhao's glasses were shattered and her blonde hair was dancing, trap it's too late. Jiang Chen's heart was smashed with a hammer, and the compass flashed out from his backpack, chase. Youth is immortal. The black shadow fled into the night, the minions of crisis opened the abyss, the bells roared, the paint stains were like blood and tears, and the black clouds still lingered. The yellow lights in the art classroom shattered like blood and tears on the ground. The canvas of transformation youth, blue, gray, red and warm will-o'-the-wisps was torn into pieces. The green, yellow, blue and gray paint mist filled the air with a pungent and choking smell of burnt rubber, and the secret file's ashes fluttered to the ground like black snow. Qin Feng smashed his fist against the wall and bloodshot eyes oozed out. His eyes were red and rounded, turning to ashes of despair. His shoulders were slumped and hot tears were flowing down his muddy face. He yelled, "Brother Chen, one who attacked and destroyed the masterpiece at night. All of my hot-blooded adventure club went in. I voted for the black hole in the art exhibition and my ironclad certificate for dropping out of school is renewed." His voice shook like a candle in the wind. His fists dropped weakly and there were drawing blood marks on the paint stains. His knees were weak and shaking. Qiao Zhixia screamed and hugged the two bears tightly. The LED green light of the new bear flashed wildly, reflecting the creaking and squeezing of the rubber body of the old bear. Tears rolled down her pale face. "Brother." The elements of the Bear MVP painting were destroyed, and the innocent green light failed to repel the black tide. The black hole of the exhibition voting is swallowing, and the bear bites the air. The green light arced weakly, and the paint was muddy, and the pungent smell of rubber mixed with oil paint choked her nose. She threw herself at Jiang Chen's legs and her tears burned through her trousers, piercing her heart. Her delicate little fingers clenched her thighs and trembled. Tang Yue grabbed Jiang Chen's arm tightly, her nails were pierced and bloodshot oozed out. Her eyes were full of tears, the scent of jasmine mixed with sweat and soreness hit her face, she bit her pink lip and the bloodshot threads were broken, her self-esteem was shattered and rekindled. "Chen. Dad agrees that the food at home is still warm. Now that the painting has been destroyed and the secret file is burned, my self-esteem is like a canvas again. Tear it apart." The dream of a passionate kiss in college sinks to the bottom, and Wang Hu's claws bite everything off. Her chest heaved and pressed tightly against his waist, her wet hair wrapped around her neck, her hot breath blew on her ears, and the icy needles of despair rushed into her heart. Han Zhao's glasses were shattered and his blonde hair was wet and sticky on his forehead. He grabbed the remaining paint can and shook it. The fluorescent juice swayed like the remains of a will-o'-the-wisp and rushed to his forehead. Jiang Chen's heart was smashed to pieces by a hammer, his parents were divorced, his inner demons resurfaced, and he was trapped in the quagmire of responsibility, and the cracks in his rebellious shell widened and became bloody, throwing teddy bears on the street to kill time. He woke up only when the pressure of graduation was approaching, his dream of a mural in the Lake Holy Land was within reach. But now a night attack destroyed everything, a black hole devoured the team after dropping out of school. The ironclad certificate of the art exhibition qualification review was continued. Wang Hulihao's sinister smile flashed his teeth. The smell of dry blood rose in his throat, and his suppressed growl turned decisive. His mind flashed back to the dusty backpack of his childhood, the compass's North Pole needle, the climbing rope fixed with hand-to-hand combat, and the invisible fluorescent navigation afterimage. The psychological game was like a knife blade cutting each other off. Surrender. The rift between the blue and gray family forever locks the life of a street gangster. Fight back. Sacrifice the safety of the team to fight for a chance of survival, to give Tang Yue's father a warm meal, to give Qiao Zhixia a sweet smile, to Qin Feng's social dream, and to Han Zhao's artistic soul. He grabbed the shoulder strap of his backpack and pinched it until the blood stains were burning. He threw out the compass and the North Pole shadow flashed and hummed low. Stop. Wang Hu's lair abandoned factory, the secret paint stall is there. I sneaked in to take it back. Qin Feng made a big fuss at the front door, Qiao Zhixia's double bear LED interfered with the gangsters, Han Xiao Tang Yue set up a fluorescent smoke escape route. Youth is immortal, the counterattack begins. The hoarse voice cracked into iron blood, and the eyes were as red as a lake phoenix. Everyone's eyes widened and turned red from shock to admiration. Qin Feng's fist hit his palm with a loud bang and mud splashed, and his shoulders shook like a recast friendship chain. Brother Chen's magic. I fight with blood to bear the pressure, and I serve you with a stick at the front door. Hot tears steamed dry, and the red eyes burst into admiration. Qiao Zhixia hugged the bear, the LED green light danced wildly on her face, her little body bounced and snapped. Brother is a hero. Bear MVP stumbles and interferes, Kuroshio gets out. The rubber squeaked and shrilled, laughter and tears intertwined with ambiguous childlike currents. Tang Yue fluttered into her arms, the scent of jasmine bursting, her pink lips pressed to her ear and she blew a warm breath. Chen, strategically planned and sacrificed to believe in your father's college dream. The rising and falling curves of his chest pressed against the ambiguous sparks of self-esteem. Han Zhao's blonde hair shook excitedly as he pushed the shattered lenses, fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray smog formula, the magical skill of upgrading the mud wall to create a road. The night suppressed the dull roar of the campus bells, and they ran to the abandoned factory at night. Qin Feng threw out the battle flag of the Adventure Club, which was blue, gray and red, and roared open the iron gate of the front door. Wang Hu. The bad guy is here, a bloody fight. Sticks rained down, and his fists and feet flew into the air, mud and blood splashed, his shoulders were wounded, hot blood sprayed out, and his shoulders shook the sieve to bear the pressure. The eyes of the brothers were wide and red with fear. Panicked, school bully. A hot-blooded mad dog bites off the leg. Wang Hu smiled ferociously with yellow teeth and waved his stick. Qin Feng is going to die. The brothers are beating him up. In the chaos, Jiang Chen's backpack, climbing rope, and the fixed beam rattled, and he sneaked into the cracks in the side wall, his nose choked by damp mold and rot, and his figure was like a ghostly compass, navigating around the dark alley on the left. Qiao Zhixia's two bears were thrown into the air, snapping and bouncing. The LED green light meteor arced and tripped the gangster's knees. The squeaky rubber collided with the stick and cracked. The gangster jumped on the ground and screamed, "Ghost bear." The green light bites the leg and blinds the eyes. She dodged the rope with tears of excitement on her face. After asking, "Bear MVP. Come on, brother." Behind Han Xiao Tang Yue, the paint can gurgled and poured, fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray juice mixed with wall-drawing mud and smoke exploded, and will-o'-the-wisps filled the sky with a pungent smell. An escape route was set up, and the tunnel was hidden in camouflage. Jiang Chen's heartbeat and thunderous psychological game rekindled. Deep in Wang Hu's lair, there were mountains of paint, and the remaining pages of the secret file continued to provide irrefutable evidence. However, suddenly there was news that the iron frame on the top floor cracked, and Wang Hu slipped while flipping through the paint alone and fell into a broken beam. The red light was reflected in the fire. His mind flashed to the fact that his parents, Lan Hui, were getting divorced, hatred locked in place and never changing. He swung the rope and fought hand-to-hand to immobilize Kara. He jumped to save Wang Hu, whose arms were bloody and scalded with flames. The two of them rolled down into the mud. Their shoulders were bruised and the pain turned to responsibility. Wang Hu. I will save you. Let's end the grudge. Wang Hu's eyes widened and red, shock turned to admiration. His yellow teeth were trembling, and the smell of smoke was mixed with sweat. Bad, Jiang Chen. You saved my life. You paid for the night attack to destroy the painting in revenge. Li Hao bribed, I was wrong. You are so brave, the Adventure Club is awesome, and all the secret paints have been returned. His shoulders trembled and dropped, and the brothers paused with their fists in the air. The school bully worshipped the bad guy to help. In the smoke and fire, Jiang Chen carried the paint can backpack and his shoulder was burned. He swung the rope to retreat to the wall and made an invisible navigation. The team gathered and ran into the woods at night, and their footsteps were muddy. On the way back to the lake, the red light of the campfire burst and crackled, and the aroma of roasted wild fruits hit the nostrils with the smell of the lake. Jiang Chen's injured arm was covered in blood and he roared, rebellious in the past, throwing bears on the street, my parents were obsessed with responsibility. Today, I have transformed and fought for the team of the art department of the university. The end of the psychological game, sacrifice to sneak in to save the enemy, exchange grudges to resolve art exhibition ammunition. Qin Feng pounded his fists with his palms and worshipped, Brother Chen, the god leader. I will carry my blood forever, the Adventure Club's Bible mural dream. His eyes were red and trembling with tears. Qiao Zhixia slapped her legs and knees, and the LED green light reflected the fire. Brother, grow up in the Xiong family. Childlike green fights off the black tide and winds. Her warm little body pressed against the ambiguous current, and her heart was filled with laughter and tears. Han Zhao's blonde hair reflected the fire and shook the sieve, the magical skill of fluorescent smoke, transformation and youthful rebirth. Tang Yue leaned on her shoulder, the scent of jasmine wrapped around her neck, and a hot kiss on her pink lips pressed to her ear, leaving a moist electric shock. Chen, Dad's 3-point letter increased, you will be a hero forever. Misunderstandings and self-esteem melt sweetly. The undulating curve of the chest, the alluring ambiguity deepened, and the slender fingers traced the paint marks on the palms, and the warm current of responsibility filled the heart. Rehearsal for the art exhibition dawned, the classroom lights turned yellow again and the paint cans dumped onto the canvas. The huge, backpack metamorphosis, blue and gray rebellious cracks turned to red and warm lake light phoenix, double bare angle LED meteor, rope aerial melee drawing, invisible trap camouflage will-o'-the-wisp, lake mural biblical elements exploded. Jiang Chen held the pen and shook his hands, ink splashed, and reflected in his mind on the street graffiti. The blue and gray tree trunks were fragile and turned to hug the back of the masterpiece. I am admitted to the art department of the university, and I have no regrets about my transformation. Qin Feng carried the material box and splashed mud, and smashed his fists into his palms in worship. Brother's masterpiece is warming up to the climax, and their magical skills are sublimated on the street. Qiao Zhixia throws a bear. The green light arcing in the air inspired the movie. The bear MVP element is super cool. Han Xiao swiped his fingers wildly with fluorescent juice and said, the new formula of wall mud is perfect. Tang Yue leaned on his shoulder and blew his hot breath into his ear. Chen, let's join hands forever. Everyone's shoulders shook in admiration, and the canvas was smudged with ghost fire and the picture was shocked. On the day of the exhibition, spectators gathered in the campus square. The bells rang, the blood-red sunset elongated the black shadow, and the crowds buzzed. The huge, backpack transformation was erected with blue, gray and red warm will-o'-the-wisps flickering, causing people to scream, Jiang Chen's masterpiece. Transformation youth explodes. Wang Hu stood by with blood wrapped around his shoulders. Huang Ye grinned and murmured in admiration, bad bitch, I support you. Qin Feng roared with enthusiasm to promote. Qiao Zhixia's twin bears performed green light meteors. Han Zhao's lens projection explained fluorescent magic skills. Tang Yue's pink lips trembled slightly with pride and held Jiang Chen's hand for an ambiguous electric shock. Suddenly the cell phone buzzed. Tang Yue turned pale and threw her arms with tears in her eyes. Chen, Dad has a sudden illness. He has a heart attack and is in the hospital for emergency treatment. Will he give up the game? The art exhibition proves everything. Jasmine's face was mixed with sore tears, her chest heaved and her self-esteem collided with the abyss of suspense. The audience's eyes widened and the silence turned into a roar. The hammer in Jiang Chen's heart hit him again and the warmth of responsibility exploded. For her, carry it. The blood-red sunset in the campus square is like pouring lava, and the elongated black shadows of the crowd are humming and whispering like a beehive trembling. The huge, backpack metamorphosis, canvas has blue and gray cracks, red and warm phoenix flames flicker, and the twin bears' LED green light meteors are wired around the rope and the invisible trap lake mural is holy. As dazzling as the explosion of warp elements, the paint in the air was pungent and mixed with the smell of sweat, acid, tobacco, and yellow teeth. The audience's eyes widened and they silently whispered, Dad Tang is sick. The vote for Jiang Chen's masterpiece has been suspended. Although the ironclad evidence of dropping out of school has been resolved, this house has become a new black hole swallowing dreams. Comments. The old man's gray eyes narrowed in hesitation behind the lenses, and he tapped the voting board in his hand. He slumped his shoulders and muttered, "The theme of transformation is awesome, the backpack rebellion turned into Lake Phoenix Soul, but the team is absent. The qualifications are confirmed and the championship is hard to determine." Qin Feng smashed his fist palms clattered and mud splashed, red eyes trembled in panic, and hot tears evaporated. "Brother Chen. Uncle Tang's illness is in the abyss," I breathed out with passionate propaganda, and the Adventure Club's Bible mural dream shattered into a black hole. His shoulders were slumped and weak, and the battle flag was blue, gray, and red, and there were traces of blood on the ground. Qiao Zhixia's twin bears slapped her knees, the LED green light danced wildly, reflecting her tearful face, her small body hit the ground and the rubber squeaked, squealing and wailing, "Brother." Bear MVP performs an air bite, the innocent green light failed to repel Dad's crisis. Hot teardrops burned to the ground, and the ambiguous electric current clamped the desperate ice needle, and she grabbed the air with her slender fingers and her knees were shaking and weak. Han Zhao's blonde hair danced wildly and pushed the lenses to pieces, and her fingers were smeared with fluorescent juice to draw the silk without any strength. The smoke trap magic painting is perfect, and now the dark cloud of the exhibition voting is overwhelming. His voice shook like a candle in the wind, and his admiration turned to panic, and his eyes were begging with broken eyes. Wang Hu stood with blood on his shoulders, his yellow teeth trembling and the smell of smoke filling his nostrils. His brothers lowered their sticks and growled dumbly, "Bad son, I support your great work, but Dad has a new illness?" The dull roar of the square bell sounded like a hammer hitting the heart. Tang Yue threw herself at Jiang Chen's arm with tears in her eyes. Her nails pierced the blood, and jasmine fragrance mixed with tear acid hit her face and burned her skin. "Chen, Dad's heart emergency light is flashing red, his three-point letter is hot and broken. The art exhibition proves that his self-esteem is torn apart, the dream of a college kiss sinks to the bottom, Wang Hu's reconciliation ammunition is cut off." His chest rose and fell, pressing his waist, wet hair wrapped around his neck, hot breath blowing on his ears, ambiguous electric shock clip, self-esteem collided with the abyss of suspense, pink lips biting the bleeding thread, trembling and begging. Jiang Chen's heart was smashed into slag by a hammer and then recast. His arm was wounded in blood and wrapped in a hot backpack and his shoulder flesh was pinched. His parents' divorced demons resurfaced and they were trapped in the quagmire of responsibility. Throwing a bear on the street to kill the rebel shell cracks widened, a night attack sneaked in to save King Hu, and the grudges were broken and returned in a secret file. Now Tang's father's illness has caused a new black hole, the team collapsed, the judges hesitated, and the audience ridiculed like knives cutting each other. The smell of blood rose in his throat, and his suppressed growl turned to determination. His mind was filled with flashbacks of dusty memories, his childhood backpack and compass needle circled the left stream, the mountaineering rope's hand-to-hand fixed beam snapped, the two bears' LED green meteor stumbled and creaked, the abandoned factory's smoke and ghost fires covered the pit wall, the blue and gray of the lake and cave murals transformed into red and warm embraces of the back. And the fragile blue and gray graffiti on the tree trunk turned into a battle flag and a phoenix. Started a prairie fire. The psychological game is like fire and knife, give in. The rift in the blue-gray family forever locks the life of a street gangster, and the art exhibition champion swallows the college dream, fight back. Carrying the brush alone integrates into the full adventure soul, regains the spark of self-esteem of Tang Yue's dad, and ignites the innocent and passionate art of the team. He shook off the bloodstains on Tang Yue's slender arms. He grabbed the edge of the giant canvas and dumped it. The fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray juice mixed with the mud on the wall exploded into the sky. He held the pen and shook his hand, and the ink splashed on the ground. "Press a bird. I'm transforming alone, and all the rebellious souls in the backpack are painted in. Dad Tang's illness is fixed." His hoarse voice turned into an iron-blooded phoenix, his eyes were as red as a lake, and the tip of the pen brushed blue and gray cracks, and the abyss turned into a red and warm phoenix. Wingspan, two bears with angles, LED green light meteors arcing to trip wolves, rope aerial hand-to-hand combat to break beams, invisible traps, camouflage ghost fire pits, wall murals, lake murals, Bibles, blue and gray hugs, backs exploded, the audience's eyes widened in shock, and then screamed in admiration, Jiang Chen's magic pen. Painting the transformed soul alone, rebellious cracks, red and warm phoenix fire, bursting into flames. The crowd buzzed and roared, thunderous applause, and the pungent air paint filled the face with a heat wave of excitement. The old judge's lenses were shattered, his gray eyes widened and trembled, and the voting board in his hand dropped to the ground, a masterpiece with the theme of transformation. The memories of adventure are all melted from blue to gray to red and warm, and the championship warms up to shock the soul. His shoulders shook with admiration, and his voice shook like a candle in the wind. Qin Feng's fist hit his palm, mud splashed and tears evaporated. Brother Chen alone is the leader of God. I roar with passionate propaganda, and the Bible mural of the Adventure Club will burn forever. With red eyes of worship, he punched the air with his fist. Qiao Zhixia's twin bears flicked up the LED green light meteor projection in the air, her face turned into tears and she was excited, laughing and crying. Brother is the hero of the Xiong family. The innocence of the green light painting MVP stumbles and wins, Kuroshio gets out. The rubber squeaked, the heat hit the legs, and the ambiguous current flowed through the heart. Han Zhao's blonde hair danced wildly with her fingers and brushed fluorescent brushes. The mud smoke trap is perfectly integrated, and the magic skill transforms youth and rebirth. His eyes shivered in admiration as he pushed the lenses to pieces. Wang Hu grinned with yellow teeth, and the smell of smoke filled his nostrils. The brothers banged their sticks on the ground. You are a brave bad guy. I will repay you for saving my life, and I support you as the champion. His injured shoulder fell weakly with blood and he started to growl in admiration. The tip of Jiang Chen's pen danced wildly, beads of sweat rolled down the hot canvas, the blue and gray rebellious abyss gradually melted into the red and warm lake light, the phoenix wings spread out, the twin bear ropes, the will-o'-the-wisps, the lake wall and the Bible exploded. The impact of the picture was like a volcano erupting and the will-o'-the-wisps swirling around and dazzling. The audience screamed, crowds of people stampeded, and mud splashed. Jiang Chen's transformation explodes. The dream of the art hero university is set. The horn of a medical vehicle suddenly blared at the unexpected square. Tang Yue trotted back. The jasmine scent burst into her nose and filled her nose with tears. Her pink lips trembled with joy. Chen. Dad recovered. The doctor said that the heart is stable. The 3-point letter will be added to the full letter. The food will always be warm. He supported the art exhibition to prove his self-esteem. Her chest rose and fell and pressed against his waist. The hot breath blew in his ears and the ambiguous electric shock caused her self-esteem to melt sweetly. She grabbed the paint can and cooed. Lu pours fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray mixed wall mud to join forces impromptly, and brushes with fine fingers and brushes with will-o'-the-wisps lingering. Let's draw a perfect ending. The secret land of the lake embraces the back of the university forever. The pen tips dance with each other, the blue and gray cracks melt, the red and warm phoenix peak explodes, the lake light reflects the graduation cap, throws the arc of the twin bears, the LED meteor circles the war flag Bible, and the canvas is smudged with pungent oil colors soaring into the sky. The image is majestic and soul-stirring. The audience's eyes widened with red eyes, fear turned to admiration, and they screamed and thundered, a masterpiece together. The perfect transformation ending is an irrefutable proof of the championship. The old judge fell to the ground, his knees trembling, and the voting board was held up. First, Jiang Chen and Tang Yue's transformation into youth exploded in the audience. The bells rang, the sunset was blood red, and the crowd's cheers turned into a tsunami. Wang Hu threw himself forward and knelt down with blood wrapped around his shoulders, his yellow teeth trembling and the smell of smoke mixed with sore sweat. Jiang Chen. Li Hao bought the night attack to destroy the painting. I was wrong. Save me plus God for support, school bully and peace forever. The brothers smashed their sticks on the ground and stood in a daze, shouting in admiration, bad hero. The whole school supports the Adventure Club. Qin Feng punched his back with a loud bang. Brother Chen's team is at its peak. I will fight with hot blood forever. His shoulders shook and he embraced the iron chain recast. Qiao Zhixia's twin bears snapped and flicked their breasts, the LED green light danced wildly. Brother, the Xiong family is growing up. Innocence awakens the hero's laughter. Her little body was filled with heat and ambiguous currents, and she was laughing and crying. Han Zhao's blonde hair reflects the setting sun, pushing up the lens and brushing the fluorescent light with his fingers. The smoke trap is perfect for painting, and the worship of art is ignited. Everyone hugged the circle of muddy Kara sweat acid pigments, pungent and mixed with the heat wave. Jiang Chen's injured arm was covered in blood and he roared in public thanks, his voice turned warm and iron-blooded. Qin Feng's hot blood endured the pressure, Qiao Zhixia's innocent smile, Han Zhao's fluorescent magical skills, Tang Yue's self-esteem spark. You awakened my street rebellion, and my backpack transformed into a college dream. His red eyes evaporated, and his shoulders shook as the friendship reached its peak. The award-winning lights on the stage were yellow and shattered like stars raining down on the ground. Tang Yue's eyes were filled with tears, and the scent of jasmine was wrapped around her neck, her pink lips pressed against her ear, and she breathed hotly, Chen, we will never be separated. Dad Chuanxin University's passionate kiss is sweet, and self-esteem melts into misunderstandings forever. The ups and downs of his chest pressed against each other, sparks of ambiguity exploded in his heart, and the warmth of responsibility flowed across the paint marks on his palms with his delicate fingers. Jiang Chen's throat was dry and he responded with a passionate kiss. His pink lips were wet and electric, and the tip of his tongue was lingering and hot. The audience screamed like a tsunami, the kiss is explosive. Youth is frozen. The flash of the group photo was dazzling. Wang Hu, brothers Qin Feng, Qiao Zhixia and Han Zhao all entered the mirror with red smiles that burned with admiration. The blood-red sunset stretched the eternal shadow of youth. The school elder's microphone buzzed, champion Jiang Chen's team. The final adventure of the graduation trip to the secret lake, the end of the old graffiti map. Jiang Chen's heart was hammered lightly, his phone buzzed and vibrated, the screen lit up and the university admission notice flashed with golden light, special recruitment from the art department, the transformation of the gods is an ironclad proof. His eyes widened and red, shock turned to ecstasy, his low roar turned into a phoenix prairie fire, and the unknown X in the lake and deep forest flashed in his mind, rebellious transformation without regrets, a new adventure begins. Qin Feng punched his shoulder with a bang and shouted in admiration, Brother Chen, win both the university and the lake. The blood will always follow. Qiao Zhixia Xiong slapped his knees and the green light reflected his joy, brother, the heroic Xiongjia Lake adventure. Tang Yue snuggled up and kissed Yuan, together forever. As night falls in the square, the lights are brightly lit and the ghosts are twinkling, and youth is burning. The tsunami of cheers in the campus square is gradually extinguishing. The night wind is mixed with pungent oil paint and sweaty heat waves hitting your face. The arc of the graduation cap is still elongated in the twinkling lights. Jiang Chen's arm was bruised, the shoulder straps of his backpack were burned, and the golden light of the admission notice on his mobile phone burned his eyes and heart. Qin Feng hit his shoulder with his fist and roared with passion, Brother Chen. The Bible of Lake, the LED green light on her knees danced wildly in the night, her little face was flushed with laughter and tears, and the warmth hit her legs. Brother is the hero of the Xiongjia Lake adventure, the innocent green light tripped up the MVP. Tang Yue snuggled up to her waist, the scent of jasmine wrapped around her neck, and her pink lips were filled with electric shock, and her slender fingers touched the palms of her hands. The traces of paint flowed warmly, together forever. A sweet kiss from Dad Chuanxin University. Han Zhao's blonde hair danced in the night wind and pushed his lenses, his fingers brushed with fluorescent light, smoke traps the soul of the mural in the lake, commemorating the burning of God. Wang Hu's shoulders were covered with blood and he grinned with yellow teeth, and the smell of smoke filled the air. Brother Nose hit the ground with his stick, the bad lake supports you. The school bully and Xie Yong. The crowd dispersed and the bell sounded dull but then turned to joyful aftertaste. The principal's microphone buzzed and echoed, "The graduation trip starts tomorrow, the ultimate adventure in the secret lake for the whole class." In the early morning of the next day, the bus engine roared like an iron beast, the fog filled the entrance to the campus and the smell of wet earth filled the air. Students' backpacks collided and luggage dragged on the floor and creaked. The hot steam of breakfast buns in the air buzzed with excitement. Jiang Chen's champion is a special recruit for the university, the lake worshipping, the whispers turned to screams, Brother Chen teaches backpackers to chase dreams. Jiang Chen's backpack tightened his shoulders and burned old wounds, and the dust-covered compass and the North Pole's steady needle flickered. Memories of his childhood flooded him. He roared suppressed and turned decisive, throwing away the crowd, grabbing the two bears' LED green light and stuffing it into the corner of the bag. I transform into a leader, and the lake mural predicts youth. Qin Feng's battle flag is blue, gray, red and warm. Throwing his shoulders and hitting his palms with a passionate fist, the team is at its peak. I'm shouting to stop breathing. But in the back of the bus, Li Hao's thin figure narrowed his gray eyes behind the lenses. He crunched the fragments of the old graffiti map in his hand and twisted his mouth to whisper poisonous words, "Bad champion." I failed to bribe Wang Hu to destroy the painting at night, and the black hole continued to press. Heavy rain in the lake, mudslides and pits, the adventure club, all the dream of destroying the university is shattered. The shoulders of the surrounding classmates were slightly slumped, and the taunts were like razor blades. The ironclad evidence of Li Hao's nerdiness has been exposed, and Jiang Chen's divine work suppressed his despair. Li Hao hit the seat with his fist and trembled, and the bloody smell rose up from his yellow teeth, and his eyes were broken and filled with fear and hatred. I hide the map trap, and the heavy rain will swallow me up. The bus is bumpy and winding, the mountain road is bumpy, there are ghostly trees outside the window, the mist is filled with wet earth and smelly smell, and the secret lake is approaching, with sparkling blue and gray cracks looming in the water. Jiang Chen was the first to jump out of the car and hit the ground with his backpack. The compass North Pole needle circled the old road by the left stream and reappeared. Team, follow. Childhood map, the leader of the gods. Qiao Zhixia's twin bears flicked the LED green light meteors in arcs, and her little body was hot and her legs were full of ambiguity. Xiongjia Lake Adventure childlike smile. Tang Yue's jasmine fragrance burst into her nose, her arms were wrapped around her waist, and her pink lips were pressed against her ears. Chen, self-esteem always sparks by the lake. Han Zhao's blonde hair with the lens and smeared fluorescent juice wildly, the mural predicts the transformation of the soul. Brother Wang, who shouldered a stick and grinned with yellow teeth, smelling of smoke and sweat, the bad guy's old abandoned factory graffiti continues, I support UX treasure. The junior freshman's backpack was loose and his eyes widened. Begged, Brother Chen, teach me how to pursue my dreams. But Li Hao followed the shadow lens and flashed with broken light, and poured out the old map with a mixture of waterproof paint marks green, yellow, blue and gray in his hand, invisible trap camouflage brushing, and whispered, when there is a heavy rain, there will be a mudslide, and the entire class will die on Jiang Chen Street. The campfire beside the lake crackled and crackled, the aroma of burnt wood filled the nostrils, and the blood-red sunset poured out and elongated the black shadows, and the crowds of people were buzzing and carnival warming up. Jiang Chen grabbed the paint can and poured the fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray sap into the lake mud. It was pungent and shot up into the sky. He held a pen and brushed the blue and gray rebellious canvas on the camp's huge commemorative canvas. The cracks turned into red and warm phoenixes. The party is started. Throw the toy paint and transform into fire. The two bears were placed in an angle, the LED green light meteor tripped the wolf rope, the aerial hand-to-hand ghost fire pit, and the walls were completely melted, and the picture was shocked by the volcanic eruption, which was dazzling. The audience's eyes widened and turned red in shock, then screamed in admiration, the sequel to Jiang Chen's magic pen by the lake. The transformation of the champion's soul starts a prairie fire. Qin Feng's fist hit his palm, the mud splashed, and his tears evaporated, and the battle flag flew into the air. His eyes were locked on Qiao Zhixia's small face, and his dry throat turned into a gentle growl. Zhixia, the innocent green light awakened my blood. Starting from the bare MVP painting in the campus square, you laughed and cried, relying on the electric shock to the top of my heart. I confess. The lake will always carry you. The hoarse voice turned to iron blood, and his knees fell to the ground with hot tears dripping into the mud. Qiao Zhixia's twin bears flicked and stopped, the LED green light reflected on her tearful face, her little body trembled, her knees were soft, her breath was blowing her ears, and her heart was filled with ambiguity. Brother Feng. The Xiong family grew up laughing and crying sweetly, the innocent green light will always be with you. The rubber in her arms squeaked and pierced her chest. The mouth rose and fell, pressing the pink lips together, the first kiss was moist, electric shocks lingered on the tip of the tongue, and the onlookers screamed and applauded. Qin Feng's confession is explosive. A passionate childlike innocence matches youth. Han Zhao's blonde hair danced wildly with brushed fingers and brushed fluorescent paint around the edge of the commemorative painting. The trap was surrounded by will-o'-the-wisps, magical skills are integrated into the party spirit. The transformation prophecy is painted. The lower-grade students threw themselves on their backpacks and begged. Jiang Chen threw away the paintbrush and grabbed their loose shoulder straps and tightened them. He demonstrated how to stabilize the North Pole needle of the compass around the left stream. Climbing ropes were fighting hand-to-hand to fix the beam. Pursue dreams first. The rebellious cracks of blue and gray are transformed into red and warm, and the backpack will always be with the university. The climax of the party was a toy-throwing carnival, twin bears with LED green light meteors dancing in the air, snapping and squeaking on knees, paint juices splashing and brushed will-o'-the-wisps soaring into the sky, the lake light reflecting blue and gray turning red and warm, and the crowds trampling on mud and splashing with the sour heat wave of Karak Khan, buzzing and roaring in the face. One who grinned with yellow teeth, smelled of smoke, and banged the stick against the fire. Bad party is awesome. I'm all here to help. But Li Hao's gray eyes shattered in panic behind his edge-shaded lenses, and the trap marks on the old map in his hand were invisible, and he muttered with resentment, the rainstorm is coming, the black hole swallows it. The sudden thunder in the sky was like a hammer hitting the sky, the torrential rain poured down, silver needles hit the ground, splashed mud and water, and the campfire hissed. Hissing steam rose to the sky and the crowds of people screamed and dispersed. Mudslide. The black hole of cave survival is overwhelming. Li Hao's mouth twisted and laughed wildly, and his lenses were shattered. Jiang Chen is finished. The wall of the trap pit on my map collapsed, and the whole class was wiped out. He deliberately pushed the lower-grade students into the mud pit, his thin hands trembling and yellow teeth biting, the smell of blood welling up, his eyes shattered with despair and regret mixed with resentment. The master of the championship pressured me to drop out of school, and the lake revenge wiped out the roots. Jiang Chen's heart was smashed into slag by a hammer and then recast, and his backpack was scorched and he threw away the bloody traces on Tang Yue's slender arms. Press a bird. I can survive alone, and the team has transformed and escaped. The smell of blood rose in his throat and he roared with determination, and his mind flashed back to dusty memories, the compass and the North Pole of his childhood to avoid mud by the left stream, the abandoned factory smoke and ghost fire pit, the wall of the lake mural Bible blue and gray hugging the back. He grabbed the climbing rope and used hand-to-hand fighting to fix the beams at the entrance of the cave. The fluorescent green, yellow, blue and gray invisible navigation pen tip was brushing against the wall and the ghost fire was flickering. The cave is back. The mural predicts the beginning of transformation. Follow me. Qin Feng rushed with blood and punched his fist on the back with a thud and picked up Qiao Zhixia's small body. Brother Chen, the god leader. I will always carry it in hand-to-hand combat. His eyes were red with admiration, burning war flags red and setting fire to the prairie fire to protect the rain needle. Qiao Zhixia's twin bears shone in the green light of the LED, and her tears were so hot that they clung to each other and the ambiguous current flowed. Brother Xiong family survival MVP. Tang Yue's eyes were filled with tears, the scent of jasmine mixed with the smell of rain, her fingers scratching her arms and pricking blood. Chen. We are worried about college separation and talking by the lake, and our self-esteem spark backpack is always with us. Her chest rises and falls, her waist is pressed, her breath is hot, and she blows her ears with electric shock. Han Xiao pushed his blonde hair with shattered lenses and rain-wet fingers on the fluorescent smoke trap camouflage wall. Magical skills create a path. The prophecy paints the soul to ignite. Wang Hu's stick smashed into the mud and rocks, his shoulder was covered in blood and he was unable to worship and shouted, "The bad rope is awesome. Brothers carry the juniors." The junior freshmen tightened their backpacks and followed with eyes wide and trembling. Master teaches you how to chase your dreams and get out of trouble. In the dark cave, there was a muffled echo of water droplets pattering on the wall, and the smell of mold and rot in the air was pungent. Li Hao followed, stumbling and sliding in the mud pit, screaming, "The trap is backlash. I was wrong." The lenses shattered and his gray eyes widened in despair. His thin body fell to the ground and splashed with mud, and his yellow teeth trembled and regretted. Jiang Chen. The irrefutable evidence of bribed Wang Hu to attack and destroy paintings at night was exposed. My conspiracy was completely defeated. I retreated. Learn from the black hole and swallow it. Jiang Chen's compass needle illuminates the mural with blue and gray cracks, a red and warm phoenix explodes, and the twin bears, LED, green light, meteor trip, wolf rope, and ghost fire lake wall Bible prophecy flashes, transformation of youth complete solution. The eyes of the students in the audience widened and turned from fear to admiration. They screamed and thundered, "Jiang Chen saves me. Survive the heavy rain alone and transform into a leader." Qin Feng's fist hit the cave wall with a bang and tears evaporated. Brother Chen is at the peak of his iron-bloodedness. I confess my love to Xia Yong with my heart. Qiao Zhixia's face was filled with tears. Excited, laughing and crying, the two bears clicked and bounced on the LED video. The heroic bear family is out of trouble and laughing. Tang Yue jumped into her arms and kissed her neck with pink lips, kissing her neck with residual warmth, taking a walk by the lake, talking about the future. Separation, worries, backpacks, promises forever. The warm current of responsibility and self-esteem collided sweetly with her slender fingers across her chest. Han Zhao's fluorescent juice mixed with mud and ghost fire swirled around and pushed the lens to tremble. The smoke trap is perfectly reversed, and the magic skill commemorates the painted soul. Wang Hu grinned with yellow teeth. The smell of smoke mixed with moldy rotten sticks hit Li Hao's feet. The nerd conspiracy has been eradicated. The bad guys are brave and the whole school is standing up. The junior freshman knelt down and punched the mud in worship. Master's backpack is an ironclad proof of pursuing dreams. The Bible of transformation is open. Li Hao struggled in the mud, his thin hands grasped the air and trembled, his gray eyes were shattered and he cried with regret and despair, "Jiang Chen. I mistakenly recognized the enemy, and the champion's masterpiece retaliated and self-destructed. Dropping out of school will forever seal his life on the streets." The classmates surrounded him with sticks hanging down, and turned around and shouted in disdain, "Li Hao is defeated. The conspiracy is exposed, Jiang Chen hero salutes." Jiang Chen roared and openly forgave, his voice turning iron-blooded and warm, "The nerds will reflect on themselves and transform, and my team's backpack will always open the way." The heavy rain gradually subsided, and the thunder turned to drizzle, and the sparkling blue-gray light at the entrance of the cave turned to red and warm, and the X-Treasure Bible mural was all bright and fluorescent, predicting the graduation dream. The crowd hugged the muddy Kara sweat, acidic rain, and the pungent mixed heat wave. The crowd cheered and the tsunami bell rang, and burst out with joy. Jiang Chen is completely exhilarated. The villain is defeated and his youthful transformation is frozen. At night, by the lakeside, the Mars River is illuminated. Jiang Chen's arm is wounded and covered in blood, throwing away his backpack, the compass, and the North Pole's eternal needle. He has no regrets about his college dream and a new adventure. The sound of water gurgling deep in the cave is like the low gasping of wild beasts. The smell of mildew and rot is mixed with the pungent smell of rain. The blue and gray cracks in the fluorescent murals are reflected in the swaying glow of the red and warm phoenix. The black slurry slowly rises. The muddy soles of the feet swallow up the cold bones of the calves. The junior freshman's eyes were wide and red with panic, his thin body was shaking, his fists were pounding into the water, and the water was splashing. He screamed, "The water has risen and the hole is swallowed up. Master, help me to pursue my dream." Li Hao's skinny hands on the edge of the mud pit grabbed the wall and fell into pieces. The fragments of his lenses flickered, and his gray eyes shattered and howled in despair. The smell of blood rose up in his throat. "My trap has backfired, the whole class will be wiped out." The crowd of classmates bumped into each other, the sour heat wave mixed with the rain mixed with the smell of Kara sweat, buzzing and roaring with fear, and the knees collapsed and cried, "Where is the leader Jiang Chen? Survived the heavy rain and finish." Jiang Chen's arm was injured, the blood scab was scalded, cracked and dripping, the backpack was pinching his shoulder and the old marks were burning. He roared to suppress the aftershocks of the hammer smashing into his chest. In his mind, the image of his childhood waterproof bag floating by the stream was flashing with determination. "Keep it down. I'm carrying this backpack." The floating crossing opens the way, and the team transforms to escape the university dream. He threw off the shoulder straps and clicked the button, unfolded the dust-sealed waterproof bag and filled it with lake mud and black slurry. With both hands, he yanked the newcomer's baggy backpack and stuffed it into the floating bag. His roar echoed with a muffled roar on the cave wall, "Young man, follow me. The backpack will chase your dreams and you will float first, and the rope will fix the way in the air." Qin Feng's hot-blooded eyes were red with admiration, his fists were smashed, his palms were pounding, and the mud was splashing, and the battle flag was red. Nguyen shook his shoulders and held up the water-blocking needle, Brother Chen's magic skill. "I'll dig an exit and fight hand-to-hand forever." He grabbed the stick and Wang Hu threw it, smashed the wall, stone chips flew and dust choked his nose. Tang Yue's jasmine scent mixed with musty rot tangy her nose, her arms wrapped around her waist, her hot breath blowing her ears, and the ambiguous current flowing through her heart. Her tearful eyes, her pink lips trembling, grabbed a paint can, and Gulu poured fluorescent green, yellow, blue, and gray sap onto the wall. "Chen, the oxygen point mark will always be with you. The self-esteem spark will never be separated by the lake." The pen tip brushed the invisible camouflage oxygen high point, the will-o'-the-wisp twinkling guide, the chest heaved and pressed, the warmth flowing around the waist collided sweetly with self-esteem. Wang Hu grinned with yellow teeth, smelled of smoke, hit Li Hao with a stick and splashed mud at Li Hao's feet. His shoulders were covered with blood, he turned around and carried the thin young man and yelled, "Bad guy, you are so awesome. Brothers, smash the wall and open a way." Han Zhao's blonde hair was wet with the rain and danced wildly, pushing the lens to pieces and drawing fingers. Fluorescent juice mixed with mud and smoke traps on the wall reversed the path of life. God marks the oxygen point. The soul of the lake mural continues to burn. He and Tang Yue danced side by side with their pen tips. Green, yellow, blue and gray wire drawings on the wall intertwined with oxygen. Highline ghost fires flickered to guide the floating path. Qiao Zhixia's little body was so hot that her knees were soft and fluttered between Jiang Chen's legs. The twin bears' LED green light meteors bounced on the water surface, reflecting the panic on her face. The rubber squeaked and shrilled, laughter and tears intertwined with her to soothe her and scream for new life. Xiong family hero floats MVP. Childlike green light laughs to escape danger, follow Brother Feng, Brother Yongtian. She grabbed Qin Feng's self-made adventure bear and danced in the air with a rope to fix the floating bag. The onlookers' eyes widened with fear, turned red in shock, and screamed with thunder. Xiao Mei's toy comforts the god. Jiang Chen's backpack float leader explodes. The water gurgled up and swallowed the bones of his knees. Jiang Chen was the first to jump into the floating bag. The water burst and the cold needles pricked his skin. The ropes were tightened in hand-to-hand combat and the beams creaked to stabilize the team's progress, oxygen points and marks. I can take off the black pulp alone. Qin Feng's stick hit the wall with a thud. The cracks widened, and the drizzle turned to starlight. The starlight leaked into the hot-blooded roar, opened the exit. The hot-blooded confession knows that Xia Yong can fight hand-to-hand. The junior freshman tightened his backpack, shivered, and followed up with burning eyes. He worshipped and trembled. Master's waterproof bag is an irrefutable proof of pursuing dreams. The transformation Bible is opened. Li Hao's thin hand finally grasped it. He crawled out of the mud pit with a rope, his gray eyes were broken and he howled with regret and murmured introspection, Jiang Chen, forgive me for swallowing my own black hole, and I am grateful for my transformation. The classmates gathered around the sticks, dropped their sticks, and turned to tolerance and nerd self-reflection. The hero team escapes and freezes. The water droplets pattered. The echo on the wall faded, the starry river pouring out of the lake turned from sparkling blue to gray and turned red and warm. The crowds of people floated successfully to embrace the turbid mud, Kara sweat, acid rain, pigments and pungent heat waves. They cheered and the tsunami bell rang. The joy exploded, Jiang Chen is a complete leader. Survive the heavy rain, unite and transform, it's exciting. At night, the lakeside campfire is rekindled, the crackling firewood is fragrant and the scent of burnt wood is dispelling the lingering traces of mold and rot. The stars are reflected on the water, with sparkling blue and gray cracks. The red and warm phoenix projection murals are all bright and fluorescent, predicting the graduation dream of a prairie fire. Jiang Chen's arm was covered in blood, he threw away his backpack and sat on the lake, the stone was cold and seeping into his bones. The needle of the compass at the North Pole flickered, and the warm memories of his childhood flowed into his heart. Tang Yue threw her pink lips to her neck and kissed her with the residual warmth of the electric shock lingering on the tip of her tongue, Chen. Walking by the lake, talking about the future, worrying about college separation, the backpack promises eternal sweetness. The warm current of responsibility and self-esteem melted into sweetness as she crossed her chest with her slender fingers. Qin Feng carried Qiao Zhixia, her small body was so hot that her knees were weak, and the battle flag Hong Wan held high her first love and sweetly roared, Zhixia's heart is shocked by the green light of childhood, my blood will always carry the lake. Han Zhao's blonde hair was dancing with stars, his fingers were dabbing with fluorescent brushed lenses, and he was shaking with excitement, the magical skill of oxygen marks smoke. The soul of the Team Lake mural will burn forever. Wang Hu grinned with yellow teeth, mixed with the smell of smoke and charred wood. The brothers smashed their sticks on the ground and surrounded the fire. The companions gasped, Qin Feng's fist hit the ground, mud splashed and sparks flew, Brother Chen, brothers carry it. Parents are dead, we are family. His eyes widened, tears sparkling in the fire, admiration turned to brotherly affection. Qiao Zhixia cried in her arms, brother is the best. I will always be with you. Han Zhao's glasses reflected fire and his shoulders shook, this story, the painting is progressing. Brother Chen, you have transformed. Tang Yue touched his palm with her fingers, making warm scratches, Chen, my dad was wrong, you are my hero. The ambiguous flames were burning brightly, and her heartbeat was beating at the same time. Jiang Chen lowered his head and kissed her forehead, as softly as paint touching paper. Back home, the street lights and the sparkling river stretched a dark shadow. Jiang Chen pushed the door open. The rice was fragrant and the vegetables were salty. The gray-haired figures of his parents turned around and their eyes were wet and trembling. They hugged their arms tightly and the blood was hot. Son, the lake news was broadcast to the whole school. My parents wrongly accused me of being rebellious. I am backpacking and pursuing my dream. I support you forever. Mom's tears were hot and the palms of her hands felt warm. Dad, his fist banged on the table and he whispered softly, the transformed leader is iron-blooded, and the family will carry on new adventures. Jiang Chen's throat was dry and the smell of blood surged up, suppressing the iron hammer in his chest. On the eve of graduation, the blood-red sunset pours down on the campus playground, the sparks and the river are twinkling with will-o'-the-wisps. Friends sit in a circle on the lawn, smelling green grass and the smell of sweat and heat mixed with pungent pigments. Gifts are given to each other, wrapping paper is torn apart, and the wrapping paper is torn apart, buzzing with joy. Qin Feng smashed his palm with a hot-blooded fist and handed Jiang Chen a red armband with a war flag. Brother Chen will always carry the leader. Lake Qiao Zhixia's two bears snapping their knees, LED green light meteors plugging Jiang Chen's legs, the hot and ambiguous current, brother, hero, MVP of the Xiong family. Innocence always smiles by the green light lake. Her little face is red, she laughs and cries, relying on sweetness. Han Zhao's blonde hair fluttered and pushed the lens with his finger-brushed fluorescent paint pen and handed it over. The magic skill of smoke trap continues. The wall of the transformation painting soul will burn forever. Wang Hu grinned with yellow teeth and the smell of smoke filled his nostrils. He carved a peace sign with a stick and lost his arms, bad school bully Yonghe. Brothers are very good at college. Li Hao's slim figure with new lenses and gray eyes introspection lowered his head and handed over the complete version of the old graffiti map fragments to piece together. Jiang Chen, forgive me for the black hole of the conspiracy, and the transformation map X will open the way. Thank you. Jiang Chen's heart felt warm and depressive, and he took out a homemade paint pen from his backpack. The wooden handle was wrapped in lake mud and black paste, and the fluorescent green, yellow, blue, and gray brushed tip was invisible. The will-o'-the-wisp was invisible. He held Tang Yuexian's palms and blew the hot breath into his ears. The pink lips were still warm and electric shock. You. I promised you when we meet again in college. We will take a walk by the lake with a self-esteem sparkle backpack and paint a bright future. Heartbroken, slender fingers touched hands, responsibility flowed warmly. Chen. Dad Xuanxin, the family will always be warm, worry about separation, the brush promise is sweet. The eyes of the onlookers widened and turned red, and they were shocked and screamed. Jiang Chen made his own magic pen. Qing Mei promised to go to college. Qin Feng's fist hit his shoulder with a thud, and tears evaporated. The leader is sweet and iron-blooded. I know that Xia Yong is a match. Qiao Zhixia's double bear shot was empty and she laughed and cried. The hero promises Xiong family sweetness. The countdown bell of the ceremony was dull and buzzing, and the crowds in the playground were surging and their graduation caps were about to be tossed. Brothers Wang Hu carried sticks on their shoulders and grinned with yellow teeth, throwing away the peace flag. The blue, gray and red warm projection transformed into a phoenix and held it high. Peace will last forever in the bad ceremony. The school bully, the whole school, is throwing it high. The flags unfolded in the wind. The smell of hunting smoke mixed with the smell of grass and the heat wave hit our faces. The students screamed and thundered with applause. Wang Hu, the god of peace. Flag. Jiang Chen's team transforms and pays homage. Jiang Chen's backpack straddles his shoulders, the compass needle flashes, his arms are bruised and burned, and his fingers tremble as he grasps the brim of his hat. He lowers his head and suppresses his chest, and the last hesitation emerges like black pulp. The rebellion of blue and gray toys on the streets, the smoke and ghost fire of abandoned factories, and the Bible prophecies of the All-Transformation University. Is he really ready to bid farewell to this youthful carnival? Tang Yue wrapped her slim arms around her waist and blew her warm breath into her ears. Ambiguous currents flowed through her heart. Chen, we will always be together. Qin Feng raised his battle flag and roared with blood, throw the leader high. Carry the blood forever. The crowd buzzed and roared, and the arc of the hat was ready to go. The Star River poured down, the sparks and the ghost fire lingered, and the warm current burst at the edge of hesitation. The playground bell buzzed like a beating heart, the blood-red afterglow of the setting sun stretched the dark shadows of graduation robes, the smell of green grass mixed with the sweaty heat wave hit my nostrils, the lights, sparks, ghosts and fires swirled around the crowds, the tsunami and the thunderous applause made the air crackle. Jiang Chen's arm was bruised with blood, the scab was burnt, and the sleeves of his graduation robe were faintly brushed. The compass, the Arctic ever-needle backpack, and the old scars on his shoulders were sore. He grabbed the brim of his hat, his fingers trembled, and he lowered his head to suppress the aftershocks of the hammer smashing into his chest. Hesitant thoughts came to mind, throwing toys on the street, blue ash, rebellion, abandoned factories, smoke, ghosts, fire lakes, murals, Bible prophecies, a new adventure in the Transformation University. Are you really ready to bid farewell to this carnival of youth? The whispers from the junior freshman in the back row turned to sarcastic and harsh words. Jiang Chen, a street gangster pretending to be a leader. The Hufuda News is hyping up the news. Don't be embarrassed when you speak on stage. Li Hao's slim figure, with new glasses and gray eyes, lowered his head in introspection, his fists trembling slightly and his throat hoarse. He murmured, "I've swallowed my own conspiracy." Can he really convince the whole audience? Wang Hu clenched his yellow teeth and groaned at the smell of cigarettes. He hummed the stick and hung his shoulders. The circle of brothers watched with red eyes and doubts. The bad guy bravely survived the heavy rain. Don't get stuck on the stage and embarrass the school bully. The buzz of the principal's microphone echoed with the muffled sound of the playground, and the black tide of graduation robes pushed Jiang Chen up the wooden steps, creaking on the wooden steps, and the grass juice on the soles of his feet was sticky and leaked into his shoes. Jiang Chen, a model of Adventure Club Lake. The smell of blood surged up from my head, my legs were pressed against the steps, and the crowd was humming in the audience. The silence was so quiet that I could hear needles falling. The sweat was evaporating and the heat was rising to the sky. The rebellious images in my mind were pouring out, toys were thrown in the street, clattering and spinning in blue and gray to laugh at the onlookers, and the discarded backpacks in class were choked by dust and my parents sighed with gray hair. He took a deep breath of the grassy mixed lamp Mars River and roared, his voice hoarse with rust, "I." From a street gangster, throwing toys to kill the rebellious blue ash, to the smoke and ghost fire in the abandoned factory almost destroying the group. The young freshmen in the audience narrowed their eyes with disdain and hummed and whispered, "The rebellious garbage is still here." Sleeves. Hufudu is bragging. Qin Feng smashed the war flag with his fist and hung Yuan through his shoulders and yelled, "Brother Chen, iron-blooded transformation. Shut up after listening." But the sarcasm rose up and swallowed up the steps. Jiang Chen suppressed the hammer and smashed his forehead, causing bruises on his arms and black spots on his silk robe. Suddenly, he threw off his backpack and pulled the shoulder strap to unbutton. The dusty childhood map, the ice pliers and the bone marrow floated on the air bag to open the way. Qin Feng smashed the wall with a stick and fought hand to hand. Han Xiaotang used fluorescent oxygen mark and the ghost fire guided him. Qiao Zhixia's double bare LED green light comforted him and escaped. Wang Hu's bad boy carried the new life peacefully. Li Hao's self-examination and forgiveness Fengtu transformed. Eyes widened and red, panic turned to shock, trembling fists smashed his knees, grass juice splashed, waterproof bag, irrefutable proof of dream chasing. Open the Fudu Bible. Li Hao's gray eyes shattered and regretted, he turned to introspection, his throat was choked with tears, and his hands were burning. Jiang Chen. I'm a black hole, thank you for your transformation. Wang Hu's yellow teeth grinning, the smell of smoke exploded, the stick hit the ground, and the steps shook. He yelled, "The whole school supports the bad guy's magical skills. The school bully is He Yong." The whole place was crowded and shoulder to shoulder bumped into each other. The sour heat wave mixed with the smell of green grass, buzzing and worshipping, and the tsunami of worship screamed and thundered, Jiang Chen's rebellious transformation into a myth. The dream of Lake Mural University is a prairie fire. Qin Feng's hot-blooded eyes were burning with admiration. Qiao Zhixia's little hands were hot and her knees were soft. She pressed into her arms. The two bears flicked the LED green light meteor, which reflected the tears on her face. She laughed and cried, "Brother Chen speaks about iron blood. I know that Xia Tongzhen will always carry the lake. Qiao Zhixia's small body was hit by a heat wave, and her pink lips trembled in dependence and whispered sweetly, the hero shares the MVP of the Xiong family. The green light laughs and escapes the university sweetness. Han Zhao's blonde hair, starlight dance, pushed the lens, brushed fluorescent juice, spread out the collection picture album, turn the pages of the album, the woody fragrance hits the nostrils, the blue and gray rebellion embraces the back, turns red and warm, and transforms into the phoenix, lake light, ghost fire, oxygen mark, full fusion championship masterpiece, Brother Chen's smoke trap reversal of painting soul. Special recruitment for the art exhibition. The freshmen of the art club in the audience were trembling with excitement as they begged to touch the tip of their painting brushes, Han Zhao's magical skills. The transformation of youth. The gray-haired figure of Tang Yue's father climbed up the stairs slowly, and the salty aftertaste of hot rice and vegetables hit his nose, his eyes were moist and trembling, and he hugged Jiang Chen's arm was injured and the blood was hot. Chen Yu's father has full faith in his recovery, and his family is always warm and the university supports him. A walk by the lake will paint a bright future. Tang Yu's scent of jasmine bursts into her nose, her arms wrapped around her waist, her warm breath blowing in her ears, her ambiguous current flowing into her heart, her teary eyes, her pink lips pressed against her neck, and the residual warmth of the electric shock. Daddy, sweet blessings. The spark of Chen's self-esteem will always be with you. Jiang Chen's throat was dry and suppressed, and the warmth of determination burst into his chest. His fingers on the brim of his hat no longer trembled, and he growled, the rebellious blue and gray press down, and the transformed red and warm spring up. Backpack adventure toy pigments explode with youth, I throw my hat high to bid farewell to the past and embrace the college dream. The arc of the hat whizzes across the sky, the stars pour down, the Mars River is surrounded by ghost fire, and the red and warm projection transforms into a phoenix prairie fire. The black shadow of the playground lengthens. A tsunami of graduation caps was thrown across the entire venue, the wind hunted, green grass juice splashed with sweat, sour heat, and the paint was pungent and chaotic. The Qin Feng battle flag was raised high and roared, the leader throws iron and blood. The hot-blooded brothers will always carry it. Qiao Zhixia's two bears danced in the air and snapped, LED green light meteors tripped and fixed the rope, laughed and cried, Xiong family carnival MVP. Innocence and green light university laughter. Han Zhao's fluorescent paint can pour green, yellow, blue, and gray juice into the air. Will-o'-the-wisps mark the path in the sky. The blue, gray and red flags of peace are raised high, and the yellow teeth are grinning. The smell of smoke fills the nostrils, and the sticks are smashed into the air with a bang, the bad ones are thrown in peace. The school bullies are all on a new adventure. The junior freshmen tightened their backpacks, tightened the compass, and demonstrated fist smashing and worshipping, Master's Hat Bible. Fudu Dream Chaser University is open. Li Haoshou clutched his hat and his gray eyes turned to introspection and murmured firmly, transformation opens the way. I'll follow you. Jiang Chen jumped up the wooden steps, his soles were sticky, and his chest rose and fell in Tang Yu's arms. He squeezed the scent of jasmine and hit his nose with pink lips, moistened with electric shocks, and kissed the tip of his tongue deeply, sweet and heartwarming. His delicate fingers touched his palms, and the warm flow of responsibility melted into his heart. You. Promise when we meet again in college. Walking by the lake, backpack highlighter will always be with you to paint the future. I am worried about separation. I have to carry it alone. Tang Yu's tears rolled down her neck, hot breath blew into her ears, and she whispered in her heart, Chen. Dad's full message home is always warm, the tongue is sweet and the university is not divided. The crowd of onlookers' eyes widened in shock and turned into a tsunami of screams, Jiang Chen Qingmei's deep kiss is explosive. I promise to give you an iron-blooded salute. The circle of friends hugged each other with sweaty heat-wave paint, and the teddy bears filled the sky with ghost fire, green, yellow, blue and gray intertwined red and warm phoenix projections, and the phantom sound of youthful carnival bells exploded with joy as the grass evaporated into the sky. A few months later, the arched gate of the art department of the university was blazing with golden light. The red autumn leaves fell with a crunching sound on the soles of the feet. Jiang Chen's backpack stretched across his shoulders and made new marks on his flesh. The compass and the North Pole's everlasting needle flickered on his childhood map. Qin Feng carried Qiao Zhixia with hot blood. Her small body was so hot that her knees were soft, her war flag was red and her sleeves were high, and she shouted, "Brother Chen is reporting to the university, iron-blooded." Lake the Will-o'-the-Wisp fire on the lake wall continued to burn, the art department's special recruiting spirit. A new work of smoke magic. Wang Hu grinned with yellow teeth, the smell of smoke mixed with fallen leaves, a stick carrying a peace flag on his shoulders, and hunted. The bad university is quite peaceful. The school bully brothers are new. Li Hao's slim figure, the lenses of his glasses flashing with gray eyes, firmly handed over the new graffiti map fragments to put together. Jiang Chen, transformed into a follower, I will pursue it in the university. Tang Yue's father's lunchbox, hot rice and coriander, salty and tangy gray hair, eyes wet and hugged tightly. Chen's home will always be warm, new adventure dad letter. Tang Yue's jasmine fragrance bursts, her slim arms wrapped around her waist, her pink lips pressed to her neck, the remaining warmth of the electric kiss makes her tongue wet. Chen, sweet reunion, University Lake while walking, the red and warm backpack companions. Jiang Chen growled, suppressed and turned warm, hugging the whole circle of friends. The sweaty autumn leaves were pungent and mixed with the heat wave. The zipper of the backpack opened, the new rope climbing shoes were invisible and the fluorescent navigation unfolded. The North Pole needle of the compass pointed to the city outside the campus. Wild unknown, open. The autumn wind catches the falling leaves and the red warm prairie fires. The warmth in Jiang Chen's heart bursts at the edge of oppression. The backpack sets off for a new adventure. Friendship lasts forever. The passionate memories of growth and transformation are full of satisfaction. The river of stars pours, the sparks and the river of ghosts linger endlessly. The next day, the bus engine roared as we returned to school on the winding mountain road. The ghostly shadows of the trees turned to green shades outside the window. The fog cleared up the hot breakfast buns and mixed with excited buzzing whispers and spread to the campus, Jiang Chen's myth of a leader who survives heavy rains. Backpacking, floating, digging, oxygen toys, soothing everyone out of danger, Li Hao's self-reflection, forgiveness and transformation. The crowds of people in the campus square, the dull sound of the tsunami bell, turned to the aftertaste of joy, and the principal's microphone buzzed, awarding the special medal of the Adventure Club with a golden light. Eyes, the lake.